Yeah, I can't sleep, so I'm starting in. Sorry about that. Setting out the stuff. Oh, other one. Uh, yeah, I got tired. I was falling asleep last time. Bam, wake. It happens every time I get off something when start falling asleep. Next thing I know, I'm awake. Here we are. Oh, it's not muted. Why's my avatar not? Oh, it is. On. 3 out. There's one left. Oh, toward going. Not showing. Sorry about this, folks. I do have some lined up for this. Boom. Uh, all out now. Good. Now we have them all up. Pop out. Close that one. That. Pop out. That screen. Oh. All right. So as you can see, we have these. We're going to start with this one. We'll hit refresh on it too while we're at it. Start right away.
New hairdo, Snow White hairdo. You cut it all off. You look great.
Man, talk about you just go one.
Getting to show it to your best friends in a way that you're just like, you won't believe what we did. And so it's been really
greatest of all time with Alan Menken and Glenn Slater and having them work together. You know, they've made Tank.
The hard, goodbye that I feel like I mourned the rap of Snow White while I was in the middle of kind of getting my bearings on the Hunger Games.
Hi, this is Mandy. The Snow White press tour continues to spiral downward for the Walt Disney Company, further amplifying the challenges it faces across its various divisions. CEO Bob Iger, along with Disney's executives and board of directors, is in a constant state of damage control. scrambling to address the chaos surrounding this 2025 feature film. Despite ongoing setbacks, Disney seems determined to release the movie by March of next year, even as looming reshoots threaten to complicate the timeline. Rachel Zegler, the film's controversial lead, is at the center of this unraveling situation. Her involvement has become a growing liability for Disney, with many pointing to her as a PR disaster for the company. Over the past 2 years, her interviews and public statements have sparked outrage, fueling backlash against the film. Her remarks have been so contentious that Disney has reportedly canceled several planned promotional events featuring Zegler, including live singing sessions and exclusive interviews with major outlets like Vanity Fair. The growing opposition to Snow White stems not only from Zegler's comments, but also from the creative decisions made during the film's development. Families who cherish the original 1937 animated classic have voiced strong objections to the drastic
Of all time with Alan Menken and Glenn Slater, and having them work together. You know, they made Tangled, and Tangled is such a beautiful, beautiful film. But Alan composed and created the Disney Renaissance period. You know, like all of those movies.
Changes made to the story. The decision to alter Snow White's backstory, along with the film's broader focus on diversity and inclusion, has sparked widespread criticism. For many, this reimagining feels like an unnecessary departure from the timeless tale they grew up loving. In a recent interview, Ziegler doubled down on her defense of the film, addressing the backlash in a tone that many found combative. As a woman, it was my mission to really capture a new version of Snow White as a character, she stated. We had to change the source material and her values in this film. What bothers me most is the inflammatory comments from those who grew up with the original character and can't accept these changes. Her remarks grew more heated as she dismissed critics of the film as needing to keep their ugly opinions to themselves. According to Zegler, altering Snow White's origin story and shifting the focus toward representation were necessary changes that modern audiences should embrace. So what if we change the meaning of Snow White's name? She said. Representation is our #1 priority for this film.
Yeah, but you're not representing anybody that actually likes the movie. You're a stupid brat.
And those who oppose that are proof of the greater obstacles we face in the film industry. This bold rhetoric has done little to ease tensions.
Director got on the phone with me with our producers and showed me concept art. So it wasn't really her final form. And when they put that first image out, I was really, really happy with how much she looked like me and how much she kind of looked like my sister.
Many feel that Zegler's remarks reflect a dismissive attitude toward fans who hold legitimate concerns about preserving the essence of beloved stories. Her claim that critics need to know their place and close their mouths has particularly ruffled feathers, adding fuel to the growing boycott movement against the film. Ziegler's perspective on Snow White's new origin story has also drawn significant attention. In this reimagining, the character earns her name not from her complexion, but from her survival through a perilous snowstorm, a change that will be explored in the movie's opening act. Ziegler has repeatedly emphasized the necessity of these updates.
You're updating something that didn't need to be updated. The only thing that should have changed is minor speak. That's it. These people are idiots.
Claiming they were essential to modernize the tale. However, for many fans, such alterations feel like a betrayal of the character's original charm and symbolism. Critics argue that Disney's decision to overhaul Snow White's story is emblematic of a broader trend in Hollywood.
It's an image of a modern problem in Hollywood.
Prioritizing messaging over storytelling. By changing key aspects of the narrative to fit contemporary ideals, they contend Disney risks alienating the very audience it hopes to attract. Ziegler's insistence that the changes are a necessity has only deepened the divide between supporters of the film's vision and those who view it as an unwelcome departure from tradition.
Getting to show it to your best friends in a way that you're just like, you won't believe what we did. And so it's been really, really amazing to get to hear their live reactions too. It's just such an instant gratification that what we made is cared about so much. And that's a really wonderful.
Adding to the term.
Okay, I was muted. Sorry. So you're taking these temporary fads and pushing them into it, trying to extend the fad longer. No, no. Everybody's had enough. Y'all are gonna see in the next 4 years, nobody's gonna give a crap about this woke bullshit anymore.
Turmoil are reports of ongoing conflicts behind the scenes. Insiders have revealed that tensions between Rachel Zegler and her co-star Gal Gadot have created significant challenges during production. As the studio prepares for reshoots, these personal disputes have reportedly caused delays, further complicating an already fraught process. Disney's tight timeline for completing the film ahead of its March release has led to speculation that the studio may ultimately be forced to push back the debut to mid-2025. Despite these hurdles,
Well, if they're gonna push it that far back, they might as well make it so that the evil queen wins, so it's a good story. And if they're gonna push it back, they might as well recast Snow White and by a different person and just reshoot the whole thing. Get the dwarves in, so they're actual people with dwarfism in there instead of those CGI bullshit. That's what they need to do. If they redo the whole movie, that would be the best for decision they made.
Zegler remains defiant. In her latest remarks, she described Snow White as a story of empowerment that deliberately distances itself from the original 1937 film and the Brothers Grimm tale. This is something entirely.
It's not a story about empowerment. I can tell you that right now. All right? What the story is about is how to make women 304s.
New, and I have no regrets about that at all, she said. This boycott, or whatever these Disney fans want to call it, is just ridiculous and childish. I hope families come to understand that this film has an important message to share with society. Zegler also
If it's a message that you're pushing, then no, it doesn't. The only important message was in the original, and you threw it out. So, yeah. The important message is not there in this movie.
address the broader criticism that Disney's projects are driven by an agenda, dismissing such claims as baseless. People seemingly will never let go of the stigma surrounding diversity, equity, and inclusion, she remarked. This is not an agenda. It's just common sense.
No, it is an agenda. It is not common sense, because if it was common sense, you wouldn't be changing the story in the first place. God, stupid people.
However, her assertion that critics are motivated by fear and ignorance has sparked further backlash, with many accusing her of dismissing valid concerns about storytelling and creative integrity.
For missing out. Yeah, no, I'm glad nobody sings to me, that's for sure.
Yeah.
West Side Story was your first movie, right? That's
Yes.
And you, I mean, this is a crazy job to have. Was this, you had jobs before?
Yeah, I mean,
For
surprise.
Disney, the controversy surrounding Snow White has become a lightning rod for broader frustrations with the entertainment industry. Audiences have grown increasingly vocal in their rejection of films and television shows that prioritize ideology over narrative. From gender-swapped characters to race reimagining, the perception that these changes are made for the sake of appearances rather than storytelling has fueled widespread discontent. Rachel Zegler's comments have become a focal point in this larger cultural debate. Her unapologetic stance on the film's changes has resonated with some, but alienated others. particularly those who feel that her rhetoric dismisses the importance of respecting source material. When I first got the call that I was accepted for this role, I knew I had to give it my all, and that meant making massive changes to this character, she explained. It was a necessary shift, and honestly, it's something many will never understand. Her remarks have only heightened the perception that Disney is out of touch with its audience. For fans of the original Snow White, the decision to fundamentally alter the character's backstory and values feels like an unnecessary departure. Many argue that these changes diminish the timeless appeal of the story.
That's right. It does diminish the timeless appeal of the story. So earlier, I accidentally muted myself, and I was saying that the original Snow White was a duchess in the 1550s that the Brothers Grimms wrote their story off of, and then Walt Disney wrote animated Snow White off the Brother Grimm's story, and now they butchered it. You're talking about a story that's been out for almost 500 years, and you're going to butcher it now? That's a classic story. That's a timeless story.
Placing its universal themes with a narrower, more divisive focus. Adding to Disney's challenges is the growing boycott movement against Snow White.
Profound Things is like, it's a group of 20-something-year-olds who broke into Circle in the Square on Broadway and have to get something out, to get something off their chest. And the play really deals with a lot of things that somehow relate to a modern audience, even though it was written 500 years ago.
Families around the world, particularly those who grew up with the 1937 classic, have expressed their dissatisfaction with the film's direction. These criticisms aren't limited to Zegler's comments, but extend to Disney's broader strategy for its live-action remakes. By prioritizing diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, critics contend Disney has lost sight of what made its original films resonate with audiences. Behind the scenes, Disney appears to be doubling down on its approach. Despite the backlash, reports suggest that the studio is moving forward with similar changes for upcoming live-action adaptations. This includes race-swapping and gender-swapping characters, a trend that has sparked debate across the industry. For many, Disney's insistence on these updates reflects a stubborn refusal to acknowledge audience feedback. Even within the studio, tensions are reportedly running high. Disney executives, including Bob Iger, have faced mounting pressure to address the failures of recent projects. While Iger has acknowledged the need for course correction in the past, his handling of Snow White suggests that the company remains committed to its current strategy. For some, this approach signals a deeper crisis within Disney, as the studio struggles to reconcile its creative ambitions with its financial realities. The stakes for Snow White could not be higher. With reshoots scheduled for December, Disney is racing against the clock to finalize the film before its
new hairdo, Snow White hairdo. You cut it all off. You look great.
Talk about you just go one epic role after the other.
Well, when you start where I started, you have to think of ways to top it, and it's very hard.
Maria to Snow White?
Planned March release. Insiders have speculated that delays could push the debut to mid-2025, though no official announcements have been made. In the meantime, the studio must contend with the growing perception that Snow White is shaping up to be yet another misstep in its live-action portfolio. For Rachel Ziegler, the backlash has been a steep learning curve. While she remains vocal in her defense of the film, her comments have inadvertently highlighted the challenges facing Disney. By framing critics as fearful or ignorant, Ziegler has alienated potential audiences, further complicating the studio's efforts to market the film. Her insistence that Snow White represents a necessary evolution may resonate with some, but for many fans, it only underscores their concerns about the direction of the project.
Not many, most. Most people in the United States do not agree with this. So, I don't care what anyone says. Nobody wants this Snow White. Nobody. And the ones that do are a small majority. A very, very small majority.
The broader implications of Snow White's controversy extend far beyond this single film. For Disney, the reception of this project will likely influence the future of its live-action remakes, a cornerstone of the company's recent strategy.
She was like, Jacqueline, if they play Getaway Car or Maroon, she's on crisis watch. Not only did she play Getaway Car, she also played Maroon. I was having a mental breakdown in the audience at MetLife Stadium.
If the film fails to resonate with audiences, it could force a reevaluation of how these adaptations are conceived and marketed. Conversely, a surprise success could embolden the studio to continue pursuing its current approach, despite ongoing criticism. The ongoing reshoots for Snow White highlight the precarious position Disney finds itself in. With the film's release date fast approaching, the studio is under immense pressure to address concerns raised during test screenings. Reports suggest that audiences found the movie's tone inconsistent and its messaging heavy-handed, prompting Disney to order extensive revisions. These reshoots are expected to focus on refining the narrative and addressing the feedback, though it remains to be seen whether they will be enough to salvage the project. Complicating matters further are reports of behind-the-scenes conflict between Rachel Ziegler and Gal Gadot. Insiders have described the relationship between the two actresses as strained, with their personal disagreements creating additional hurdles for the production. As Disney works to complete the reshoots,
Backstage, she's my best friend, and she's the one who sent me the casting notice and said, "Thank me when you're famous." It's the craziest thing ever that it came true in that weird way, and that's why I bring her everywhere, and she's the best ever. But yeah, I put myself on tape. It's the worst tape you've ever seen in your life.
These tensions threaten to delay the timeline even further, raising questions about whether the film will meet its March release date. For audiences, the controversy surrounding Snow White has become emblematic of larger frustrations with the entertainment industry. Many feel that studios are increasingly out of touch with their audiences, prioritizing ideological agendas over compelling stories. This sentiment has fueled growing resistance to projects perceived as overly political, with Snow White serving as a high-profile example of this trend. The stakes for Snow White are enormous, not just for Disney's live-action division, but for the company as a whole. With a string of recent box office disappointments and mounting backlash against its creative decisions, Disney is under intense pressure to deliver a hit. However, the challenges facing Snow White, from controversial creative changes to behind-the-scenes conflicts, make this an uphill battle. For many fans, the film has already become a symbol of the disconnect between Hollywood and its audiences. Rachel Ziegler's outspoken defense of the film has further complicated matters.
And I moved to Poland on the Wednesday and started shooting. Oh my So it was a hard, goodbye that I feel like I mourned the wrap of Snow White while I was in the middle of kind of getting my bearings on the Hunger Games set. But,
While her passion for the project is evident, her combative rhetoric has alienated potential viewers. By framing criticism as rooted in fear and ignorance, Ziegler has inadvertently reinforced perceptions that the film prioritizes messaging over storytelling. For audiences who value the timeless appeal of Disney's classic tales, these comments only deepen their concerns. Adding to the controversy is Disney's broader strategy for its live-action remakes. With plans to continue updating beloved stories through the lens of modern values, the company risks further alienating its core audience, critics argue that Disney's focus on representation often feels performative, undermining the authenticity of its storytelling. While these efforts are intended to appeal to a broader demographic, they have often been met with skepticism and resistance. Behind the scenes, tensions within Disney are reportedly at an all-time high. Executives, including Bob Iger, are grappling with the fallout from recent missteps, with Snow White representing one of the company's most contentious projects. The decision to proceed with extensive reshoots reflects a recognition of the film's shortcomings.
I was doing it for this next generation of young people to know that they can is really, really special. And
You're not representing the younger generation. I can tell you that right now.
And I could never have imagined it in a million years, and I'm very thankful for her.
That is beautiful. Speaking of next generations, season 3 of Heartstoppers out now. That show.
So it remains
Which one was this? Okay, play it.
New hairdo, Snow White hairdo. We cut it all.
I think this is the one I just did. Alright. Do this one.
No longer 1937. She's not going to be saved by the prince. She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Hi, Vanity Fair. Jacob and I are really nervous backstage, and Beyonce.
Add a little pizzazz.
Today, we're going to talk about Rachel Zegler, who got backlash. She's supposed to be the next Snow White, which could ruin Disney's show.
The entertainment industry is no stranger to controversy, but the ongoing fallout from Rachel Zegler's comments about Disney's classic Snow White has set the internet ablaze. What started as a discussion about modernizing a beloved fairy tale has quickly spiraled into a public relations nightmare for Disney. Fans are divided, critics are outraged, and Zegler has become a lightning rod for heated debates on the tension between respecting tradition and pushing for progress. Enter Joe Rogan, who has never been one to shy away from taking on Hollywood elites. Rogan's scathing remarks about Zegler's comments and Disney's response have resonated with audiences who feel disconnected from Hollywood. Let's dive into how Zegler's words, Disney's reaction, and Rogan's sharp criticism.
Yeah, this is definitely something we want. See any comments on mine? Oh. No. Okay. Follow them. Rachel. Uh, Anyway, that's Brett Cooper for you. I was wondering who wrote that song. Oh, I closed it. Oh well. Anyway, let's get back to the one we were
are
watching.
shaping this unfolding drama. Zegler's recent description of Disney's original Snow White as outdated, weird, and creepy has sparked widespread backlash, with many fans viewing her remarks as an unnecessary attack on a cherished classic.
No longer 1937. She's not going to be saved by the prince. She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. So we didn't do that this time. I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again.
Zegler's tone, coupled with her dismissal of the original film's significance, alienated audiences who view Snow White as a cultural treasure. This disconnect has led many to question whether she was the right choice for such an iconic role. As Disney grapples with the fallout from Zegler's remarks, the studio has been forced into damage control. Reports suggest that executives are scrambling to contain the backlash and reassure fans that the upcoming Snow White remake will honor the legacy of the original. The controversy has placed immense pressure on Disney to balance the modernization of its stories with respect for its audience's expectations. For a studio already facing challenges at the box office, Zegler's comments have only intensified the situation. Joe Rogan, known for his blunt takes on cultural issues, didn't hold back in criticizing Zegler's statements. Rogan condemned the trend of Hollywood stars alienating their audiences with what he views as unnecessary controversies and out-of-touch opinions. His commentary resonates with a growing segment of fans who feel that Hollywood has shifted its focus away from storytelling and entertainment, prioritizing divisive narratives instead.
You hate X, and Don Lemon said, I'm leaving X. There's no good discussions to be had here.
Yeah, it's fucking boo-hoo.
Oh, you don't like criticism. You don't like criticism. If you want to get into this game, okay, you want to get into the online game, the online game's different. And in the online game, you get judged by who you fucking actually are, dude. It's not about your producers and your teleprompter and shut up. You're on your own. And if people think you're stupid, you're going to hear it. And it might be because you're stupid. It might be. Look, people say a lot of people are stupid that are not stupid. I've seen people say brilliant people. I've seen people say Elon Musk is stupid. I have seen that.
Yeah, I've seen that.
You're going to get it no matter what. You're going to get it. Everyone's going to get it. But if everybody's saying you're stupid, maybe. You might be stupid. You might be stupid. You might have been protected from that stupid by these network shows. If you want to exist online and you don't like criticism on Twitter, or you think there's disinformation on Twitter, even though it sounds crazy and people are protesting, it's actually true. That's fun. That's good. We learned something. If you can't handle that, well, you can go wherever. Where do you go now? Where do you go? Where do you go? Threads?
What?
People go to Threads.
Nobody goes to Threads.
But they were for a while.
Crazy?
They were for a while. Yeah, it's not going to work, I don't think.
Rogan's critique of Zegler extended beyond her remarks, targeting Disney itself. In a conversation with Whitney Cummings, Rogan highlighted the studio's controversial history, including questionable content in its older films. This discussion has sparked speculation about whether Disney's recent attempts to modernize its stories are genuine or simply performative. The debate has shifted some of the focus away from Zegler and onto Disney's broader handling of its legacy and its responsibility to its audience.
Here's some interesting stuff I just found, though.
Marshmallow Cannon?
Well,
what?
But
hold on. I mean,
okay.
It should show.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well.
Oh, what? Okay. That's 100% a dick squirting marshmallows.
On a little mouse.
You just cheesed all over this mouse.
It's that. It's like.
Okay. That's a dick. That's 100% a dick.
It's like
look at the balls at the bottom of it.
Oh my God,
like, that's not a coincidence.
I didn't even notice the balls.
That is not a coincidence. That's 100% a dick.
Look up the Minnie and Mickey Mouse. That one is the one that really kind of put me over the edge.
Yeah, that's someone being sneaky and putting in like a little Easter egg.
Yeah, they didn't get paid overtime.
That's a dick.
Yeah, and now the Disney employees are the animators are trying to unionize. I'd be shocked if they succeed. They're probably just going to have AI do it. You could also just go to Images.
The thing is, AI is so good now.
Rachel Zegler's apologetic presence on social media has only fueled the backlash. By sharing moments from her career and doubling down on her comments, she has inadvertently kept the controversy alive. Critics accuse her of being tone-deaf and unwilling to recognize the damage her remarks have caused. While Zegler's candidness has won her support from some fans, others view her as a symbol of Hollywood's failure to connect with its audience.
Hi, Vanity Fair. Jacob and I are really nervous backstage, and Beyonce's...
Add a little pizzazz. Little razzle-dazzle in there. Yeah, that's
We act, damn it. We have to act.
Let me show you how it's done. Hey, Vanity Fair. I am shaking in my boots.
As the backlash intensifies, fans and critics alike are questioning whether Disney should continue with Zegler as the face of Snow White. Many argue that her comments have tainted the project and could negatively impact its box office performance. This situation highlights the risks studios face when casting outspoken actors in high-profile roles, especially when their personal views clash with public expectations.
We're going to talk about Rachel Zegler, who got backlash. She's supposed to be the next Snow White. She got backlash, which could ruin Disney's show remake, Snow White. Okay, let's read this. And Rob, if you can get the clip ready of the second one. The one I tweeted. As a matter of fact, just go on my Twitter account and you'll see the one that I have. And just put that one up there. You were just on it right now. Okay, so I'll read it. Rachel Zegler. Critical remarks regarding the upcoming live-action Snow White remake have triggered concerns about potential damage to ticket sales. The 22-year-old actress faced backlash for her negative views on the original 1937 film and the prince character, which she labeled a stalker. Branding expert warns that Zegler comments could impact the film's reception. She has been accused of gaslighting and dubbed a fake feminist. Disney faces challenges of managing Snow White's portrayal and controlling actors' statements to prevent negative effects on ticket sales. So the more you do this...
So they finally realize she is fake. Completely.
Disney, Iger... What is this girl's name? Rachel Zegler, whatever her name is. Yes, this is exactly the backlash you're going to get from parents who have kids who are your customers. You're supposed to win parents over. You're talking to kids. The parents pay for the tickets. You have to be a dummy as a marketer to be saying, if I'm Bob Iger, you know what we're doing? Emergency meeting. We're putting Snow White on hold for 2 years. And guess what? Smart. Pay her a couple $1,000,000. Go away. We're going to bring another person to play this role because you just screwed this thing up. And whoever comes next, you know the guy that, one of the things about Hollywood actors that are not on social media, you're always like, how come they're not on social media? And then some of the guys that are professional, I don't know who did, King Arthur. Who's the guy that played King Arthur? I don't know what his name is. He's a great actor. If you type in King Arthur movie, what is this guy's name? That guy right there. What is that guy's name? What is his name? Very good-looking guy.
Critics of Rachel Zegler have speculated that her comments are part of a broader agenda to rewrite beloved stories in ways that alienate traditional audiences. This narrative has sparked heated debates about whether Hollywood's push for modernization is a step forward or a misguided attempt to erase the past. While some applaud Zegler's boldness, others see her as a reflection of a larger issue within the entertainment industry.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
Beyond Zegler, Rogan has used this controversy to address what he perceives as Hollywood's growing disconnect from his audience. From conspiracy theories about Disney's motives to discussions about cultural shifts in storytelling, Rogan has painted a picture of an industry losing touch with the people it aims to entertain. His critiques have resonated with those who feel Hollywood's focus on pushing agendas is overshadowing its commitment to creativity and storytelling.
Sends me all this stuff, but yeah, the Disney castle's being made of dicks. It is a compelling case, but I think it was probably more that they didn't pay their animators, and the animators were like, fuck you guys, we're just going to make it
I'm not totally aware of that one. I think, I don't remember it. Let's pull
Disney
that one
castle's
up.
made of dicks. Let's go. I'm about to get
There's a lot of wild stuff from the old Disney stuff.
Oh.
You go back in the old Disney, like, you guys should probably bury this.
Brutal, I know.
Yeah.
You might want to take the obviously Jewish person's nose down a little bit.
Yeah,
in this one.
There was one where there was it was like a big bad wolf one, and it used to be a Jewish person, and then they switched it to a wolf later.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
what?
and it's like cheap. It like won't pay the price for the baguette for the Little Red Riding Hood. You're like, what? Yeah, but like there's the, I think it's the Little Mermaid, the spears looking like dicks, I think they probably just didn't pay their animators, and the animators were like, all right, we're just going to make everything look like a dick.
As Rachel Zegler's career continues to rise, her polarizing presence in Hollywood raises questions about how stars should balance personal beliefs with professional responsibility.
That's simple. You leave your personal shit at home and you put the professionalism when you're at work.
Some see her as a refreshing voice unafraid to challenge the status quo, while others view her as emblematic of Hollywood's detachment from its audience.
I would have to go with the detachment to the audience. Because if you were there for audience, you wouldn't have caused this controversy to begin with.
Her journey highlights the challenges young stars face in navigating the pressures of fame in a world where every word and action is scrutinized.
I'm the foolish person who tried to defend Rachel Zegler. And Rachel Zegler has thoroughly embarrassed me. And don't worry, I'm going to explain for the people who aren't aware. Recap. I did a video last year where I was one of the first person, at least I thought I was. I'm not trying to claim credit for anything. I thought that I was one of the first people to put out a YouTube video specifically about Rachel Zegler, and that's why that video was picked up so much. Anyway, did the video on Rachel Zegler criticizing how ridiculous her comments on the Snow White movie was, and saying that the real problem in that video was her attitude, and how her attitude came off as very narcissistic and off-putting. And yes, people were offended by her words, but these are things that had been said in the media around Disney for a long time, like saying that Prince was a stalker was the thing started by Kristen Bell, or that the princess isn't gonna want true love. That thing has been going on forever. Video is putting Rachel Zegler with snot in her face and exaggerating her features and just making things up even though she couldn't say anything in lieu of the strikes. And little old soft-hearted me got it into my head after months and months and months of this and the lies and the exaggerations and the hate that maybe it was time to go easy on Rachel Zegler. And because after all, who hasn't said dumb things in their 20s? I have. Like, defending Rachel Zegler. And what really pushed it, as I've said before, is I started seeing, because as she was doing more interviews, she started doing the Hunger Games interviews, and her tone had completely changed, and I thought that she had turned over a new leaf, because I thought that this was a person who had just never been criticized for their, the way that they talked before, and that there was always a room for change. But, I was proven wrong, but, let's get into just a little bit of a backstory for people who maybe don't understand, because in my last video, and this is part of the reason why I'm doing
Joe Rogan's sharp critique of Rachel Zegler and Disney has reignited debates about Hollywood's evolving relationship with its audience. Zegler's controversial remarks, Disney's frantic damage control, and Rogan's unfiltered commentary have created a perfect storm of cultural discourse. Is Rachel Zegler simply a bold, outspoken star caught in the crossfire, or is she part of a larger agenda reshaping how Hollywood tells its stories?
What's the problem is she's part of a larger culture that is trying to destroy culture. That's what's going on. They're just trying to destroy the culture.
As the fallout continues, one thing is clear. The battle between tradition and modernization in entertainment is far from over. How this saga
It's not modernization when you're going backwards, okay?
unfolds will not only shape Zegler's career, but also the future of storytelling in Hollywood.
Definitely not modernization. I would say it's the opposite. What is it? I can't even think of the word right now. Because it's stupid. They're moving backwards instead of forward. And then they're saying they're moving forward when they're moving backwards. At least that's the way I see it.
The Snow White controversy just got a major twist. Rachel Zegler has dropped some shocking statements, and Brett Cooper's response is a bombshell. Is this film turning into Disney's biggest mistake? Where is the future of Snow White heading now? Let's dive into the full story behind this heated topic.
Snow White is actually written by Greta Gerwig, who also wrote Barbie and Lady Bird and Frances Ha, and we've been talking about her a lot recently because of Barbie, but also she's one of my favorite writers and directors. I've liked her since high school, so this pains me because what she is doing with Snow White seems absolutely terrible.
Dude, I trusted you. I trusted her.
Because she's involved, I want to believe that this movie will have some redeeming qualities. Will I actually watch it? Probably not. But I hope that it does for those of you who do watch it. But the lead actresses, Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, are making it very, very difficult for me to believe that there is anything redeeming about this project whatsoever. Now, I am sure that we have all seen this viral clip, but let's just watch again.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true.
Oh my god, it's a really incredible story. You're making this girl boss story based on an important father figure. Her father tells her to be brave and strong. Don't you think that there's a, something redeeming about men in this story? Oh, that just stood out to me. This is the first time I noticed that, even though I've watched this like 6 times now.
Just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign.
I am. Why do they look so smug? They both have that look on their face, just like the feminists, like, yeah, we're so much better than you. Anyway.
The story of Snow White has taken some dramatic new turns, especially with the fierce rivalry between Brett Cooper and Rachel Zegler. Brett Cooper, the YouTube sensation who's made waves with her bold and unique style, is now making headlines, not just for her role in a competing Snow White adaptation by the Daily Wire, but also for the controversial circumstances surrounding her exit from the company. Reports suggest that Cooper was pushed out in what's being called a hostile move, but she has remained tight-lipped about the situation, sparking speculation about the Daily Wire's financial struggles and the increasingly unpredictable behavior of CEO Jeremy Boring. Despite all this, Cooper's casting as Snow White has been celebrated by fans who crave a return to the magic and romance that made the original fairy tale a classic.
That's true. Everybody, if they release this into movie theaters, it's gonna friggin' tank Snow White, like, completely. Because this one's gonna take all the credit. all the money and have the most views.
Her take on Snow White, which stays true to the original narrative, has been widely praised. Meanwhile, Rachel Zegler, who's faced heavy criticism for her feminist, modern take on the character, hasn't hesitated to slam Cooper's more traditional interpretation. Labeling her critics as outdated, Zegler's fiery comments have only intensified the controversy. But this isn't just a story about two competing Snow Whites. It's a cultural showdown that's revealing deep divides in Hollywood and beyond. While Cooper's version is being hailed as a breath of fresh air, Zegler's approach continues to divide audiences. And with the Daily Wire's financial issues adding to the drama, the battle for Snow White has reached new heights, drawing in both fans and critics. So the question remains, did Disney go too far by rewriting a beloved classic to fit today's cultural narrative?
One, it's not a culture narrative. That's where everyone's getting it wrong. It's definitely not a culture narrative. What it is a political narrative that, Disney went way too far with it.
Or is Brett Cooper's traditional take exactly what audiences have been craving? One thing's for sure, this story is far from over.
Really the one in that trailer, and I'm still like so excited and I get chills. There I am, Gary, there I am! The whole thing is just so cool. The moment when the music starts to crescendo as I turn around, when I first heard the music, I was like, stop right there, that's just so amazing. Funnily enough, I recorded the song without hearing the rest of the trailer's score, so I had no idea what it would sound like. I had no idea what Jeremy and his team were envisioning, and he was actually writing the song and writing the music in between takes while he was directing Pendragon. We were texting back and forth trying to figure out the right key and what it was going to sound like, and he was sending me messages like, I'm so sorry, I'm in the middle of, a glacier valley in Italy and my songs aren't going through, but we figured it out.
And I saw myself on screen and I just wanted to throw up. I was so happy about it. And
You mean you wanted to throw up because you were so disgusted by your own work?
it was the most incredible experience, and the fan reaction was insane. We didn't even see what they were clapping for. I think it was good. I don't know.
We didn't see anything.
To make matters even more dramatic, the Daily Wire is reportedly facing a massive financial crisis. Inside sources claim that CEO Jeremy Boring has been running around the office, seemingly desperate to handle the brewing storm. This turmoil adds a new layer of mystery to Cooper's journey as Snow White in a competing production. The timing of these events couldn't be more crucial. As Cooper steps into the spotlight for her role as Snow White, the tension with her former employer raises some serious questions about what's going on behind the scenes at the Daily Wire. Will this chaos affect her ability to fully embrace her new role, or will it only solidify her as a tough, unshakable figure in the midst of this high-stakes Hollywood battle? The Daily Wire's financial struggles are also casting a shadow over its ambitious move into the entertainment world. With Cooper's Snow White project gaining momentum and receiving praise for sticking to the original story, the big question now is whether the Daily Wire can weather this internal storm and keep its grip on the cultural conversation. But to truly understand what's happening, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture.
I mean, a couple of things. Obviously, dude, so much has gone on. Trailers have come out. Like, that's crazy pants. Are you kidding me? I'm like...
I never want it to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have. I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats.
Every time that a celebrity gets like one DM that says KYS, they're like, I'm getting death threats! Someone save me, but not a prince! Don't
anybody but a prince.
Don't you dare save me.
She's like, I'm getting these death threats, and the cops were like, well, save yourself. Like,
yeah, you're a girl boss, aren't you?
I saw that interview. Save yourself. You'll be fine.
What is this movie all about? Like, what started it off? Where did you get the first idea for it? And what are you hoping to accomplish with this one?
So we got the idea for it literally the day that Rachel Zegler did an interview in which she said that she hated the original Snow White and wanted to rip the guts out of it.
Weird.
And then Disney released those ridiculous cast photos of dwarves that were not dwarves, the multiracial, multi-ethnic, tall people, and one dwarf. This is how we make decisions at the Daily Wire. I literally just emailed that to my business partner, Jeremy Boring, and I was like, we should do something like this. And Jeremy's like, okay, we're just going to make Snow White, but we're going to do it to all the specs, with music, with singing, with the original storyline in classic fashion that imbibes from the original well of the values. Specifically because if Disney wants to cede that field to us, we'd be fools not to take it. And we're kind of shocked by the fact that no other studio...
The reaction that came with the Disney version of Snow White. There's certainly been people who have been less enthusiastic about the live-action remakes they've done. I'm definitely one of them. It was very much a case of, okay, here comes another one. Then they cast Rachel Zegler as Snow White, and you think, okay, well, it's a race swap of the character, and it seems a bit nonsensical given the nature of the Germanic legend. But okay, fine.
And the name of the movie, and the plot of the movie.
Exactly.
If you want, like, I don't care about the skin color of the characters, but when the literal line from the movie is skin as white as snow,
yeah,
and that's why her name is Snow White.
On the surface, it might seem like just two actresses clashing over creative differences, but a closer look reveals that Ziegler's reaction isn't so much about defending her version of the story, it's about surviving in a cutthroat competition for public approval. The rivalry between Ziegler and Cooper is hard to ignore. Ziegler, once seen as Disney's rising star, is now facing a major backlash after her dismissive remarks about the original Snow White alienated a lot of her fan base. Then there's Brett Cooper, an outsider to Hollywood with a massive following on a politically charged platform, who has stepped into Snow White's shoes with genuine love for the classic story. Cooper's rising popularity and the positive buzz surrounding her portrayal of Snow White have clearly unsettled Zegler. To Ziegler, this might feel like a direct threat to her credibility and relevance in the role. The timing of Ziegler's criticism, right as Cooper's performance starts to get attention, seems like a strategic attempt to undermine her competition. It's hard not to see Ziegler's insecurity driving her sharp remarks. Ziegler's version of Snow White has already been criticized for straying too far from the character's roots. Her comments, like admitting she only watched the original movie once and hated it, haven't exactly helped her win over fans. In contrast, Cooper's heartfelt connection to the original tale has struck a chord with audiences. Ziegler's dismissive comments about Cooper's traditional approach, along with her defensive attitude in interviews, suggest a deeper fear of being eclipsed by someone who, ironically, isn't even a typical Hollywood actress. While rivalry and insecurity clearly play a role, Ziegler's stance also highlights a bigger divide in storytelling philosophies. Ziegler's vision for Snow White as a modern, independent leader fits into a larger trend in Hollywood of reimagining classic characters to reflect today's values. Cooper, on the other hand, represents a movement that wants to preserve the timeless essence of these stories. Ziegler's criticism of Cooper may stem from a belief that sticking to the traditional Snow White is outdated or regressive. But her dismissive attitude towards the story's themes of love and innocence feels more like a rejection of what made the fairy tale so enduring across generations. Ultimately, Ziegler's harsh words reveal more about her own struggles than about Cooper's portrayal. It shows an actress trying to reconcile her public image with her artistic choices. Instead of owning up to the divisive nature of her portrayal, Ziegler has chosen to redirect the narrative, trying to discredit Cooper's version. Ironically, this only strengthens Cooper's position as the voice of those who feel Hollywood has lost its way. Meanwhile, fans of the classic Snow White, tired of Hollywood's constant need to reinvent their favorite tales, seem to be rallying behind Cooper's unapologetically traditional take. What could have been a healthy discussion on creative direction has quickly turned into what looks like a desperate attempt by Ziegler to reclaim a spotlight that's shifting more and more toward her rival.
I'm really emotional. And I'm also really tired. I never wanted to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have. I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats. And maybe that's a weird takeaway.
Even more bad news for Disney's Snow White remake coming out next year.
I'm a narcissist.
There's another Snow White movie competing with it. It's called Snow White and the Evil Queen, and the producer promises to be more faithful to the spirit of the original animated classic.
Walt once said about Snow White, to me, I thought it was the perfect story. Unfortunately, the company Disney founded doesn't agree with their founder.
Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot interview talking about this dumbass new Snow White live-action movie is so funny. Everyone working on this movie seems to hate the original. Why didn't we just make a brand new movie? I don't know, Jack. I ask that every single time I do one of these episodes. I would really, really love to know. Here's a couple of TikToks. I mean, they've been all over my For You page right now, which I really appreciate.
Adriana Caselotti walked so that you could run Miss Ma'am. This role would not exist for you if that role had not existed for her in 1937. I know that you've rewritten it, and it's going to be about a Snow White that don't need no man to save her. Did you ever stop to think that in this day and age, that is exactly what we want? There are women in this world who want that fairy tale because all they've known is the exact opposite. And there are women who don't want to hear about rescuing themselves because they do it all the time. You are talking down on the first full-length animated feature in history. Generations upon generations, decades upon decades of Snow White being Snow White. The way you're stomping around complaining, you're acting like a toddler. You are a toddler.
It's such a good TikTok. Everything she said is so accurate, right down to saying women do not want to rescue themselves, because that's what we do literally every single day. Thank you, feminism. Thank you very, very much. Maybe we don't want to see that in a movie.
So, how has Brett Cooper's faithful portrayal of Snow White intensified the backlash against Ziegler's modernized vision? Cooper's approach is nothing short of a love letter to the original Snow White, honoring both the Brothers Grimm tale and Disney's 1937 animated classic. Her portrayal, rooted in timeless values like love, kindness, and resilience, has been widely praised for staying true to the essence of the story. Fans have praised her performance as heartfelt and authentic, expressing relief that someone is finally bringing Snow White back to life in the way they remember. In stark contrast, Ziegler's modernized vision, which pushes for a fiercely independent Snow White who rejects romantic love in favor of female leadership, has drawn significant criticism for sidelining the core themes of the original tale. Ziegler's public comments, especially her dismissive attitude toward the 1937 film and its themes, have made her a lightning rod for controversy. Cooper's reverent take on the classic story has sharpened the criticism of Ziegler, casting her as out of touch with the very audience she was supposed to captivate. Cooper's approach resonates deeply with fans who feel disillusioned by Disney's increasingly woke reimaginings of cherished tales. Her vocal love for the original Snow White and her personal connection to its themes highlight a stark contrast to Ziegler's perceived indifference. The divide is clear. One actress embraces the legacy of Snow White while the other seeks to rewrite it. Cooper openly cherishes the story's roots, while Ziegler admits that she watched the original only once and then rejected it. This difference has amplified the backlash against Ziegler, with fans rallying behind Cooper as the true heir to the Snow White legacy. On social media, comparisons between the two actresses are rampant, with Cooper emerging as a symbol of resistance to Hollywood's trend of modernizing beloved characters to fit contemporary agendas. Cooper's grounded, optimistic persona contrasts sharply with Ziegler's defensive and dismissive responses to criticism, where Cooper is approachable and genuine. Ziegler's remarks, like calling aspects of the original Snow White creepy or outdated, have further alienated her audience. This growing disconnect has fueled the backlash against Ziegler, as fans increasingly see Cooper as embodying the values they associate with Snow White: humility, kindness, and a deep connection to timeless storytelling. Cooper's success taps into a broader cultural yearning for authenticity and nostalgia, offering a refreshing antidote to Hollywood's constant need for reinvention. Her portrayal isn't just a performance, it's a cultural statement, a reclaiming of a story that many feel has been distorted by modern adaptations. For fans tired of Hollywood's constant pandering, Cooper's take on Snow White feels like a breath of fresh air, while Ziegler's interpretation is a bitter pill. By staying true to the original, Cooper has set a new standard, one that Ziegler's modernized version struggles to meet. Cooper's rendition of Snow White has rekindled love for the classic tale, while also exposing the risks of straying too far from its roots. The backlash against Ziegler is intensified because Cooper's approach proves that audiences are still deeply connected to the power of traditional storytelling. The fact that Cooper's portrayal is resonating so strongly with fans shows that there's resistance to unnecessary changes. So why does Rachel Zegler view Cooper's portrayal as such a threat? And what does this reflect about her own comments on the original Snow White?
I like the beginning.
In time a prince would come. Once upon a time, but now that time
Brings me back to my childhood.
is gone.
No freaking No! Yo! Brett Cooper?
No way. Hold on. So, Brett Cooper, if you were watching this, Isaac cried.
Yeah.
So, I know that there's a lot of millions of men that cried.
Yeah.
But Isaac is one of them. But this says Snow White and the Evil Queen coming Bentkey. I guess that's like the production company they have.
No, that's their new children's program. So Daily Wire just released an
Oh.
entire children's section.
Okay, yeah, you're right. But it's coming in 2024, which the other Snow White movie is supposed to come in 2024 as well.
She's so hot.
Is she?
Man.
I'm a narcissist. Original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Okay.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. And then it became like, I will elbow everyone out of the way to play the part. People will assume it's a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie, Andrew Burnap. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
I say, if I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
And we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
It's really very simple. Rachel Zegler likely views Brett Cooper's portrayal of Snow White as a direct threat because Cooper's faithful interpretation sharply challenges Ziegler's modernized vision and exposes the controversial nature of her own approach. Cooper's portrayal, grounded in a deep respect for the original story and its timeless values, stands in stark contrast to Ziegler's dismissal of the 1937 classic as outdated and creepy. This divergence not only invites unfavorable comparisons, but also undermines Ziegler's attempt to redefine the character, leaving her defensive and, arguably, insecure. Ziegler's version of Snow White emphasizes independence and leadership, rejecting the romantic and traditional themes at the heart of the original tale. Cooper, however, reaffirms the enduring appeal of these very elements. By embracing Snow White's innocence, kindness, and belief in love, Cooper has struck a chord with fans who deeply cherish the story's legacy and timeless messages. For Zegler, this contrast is a significant threat. It highlights just how far her interpretation deviates from what many fans hold dear. Cooper's success has sparked a broader conversation about the importance of preserving classic storytelling versus reimagining it for modern audiences. This backlash threatens not just Ziegler's portrayal of Snow White, but her public image as an advocate for progressive storytelling. It forces her to confront the possibility that audiences may not be as receptive to her vision as she had hoped. Zegler's own public statements about the original Snow White have played a major role in fueling this backlash. By dismissing the 1937 film as irrelevant to modern sensibilities and criticizing its focus on love and romance, Ziegler has alienated a core segment of fans. Her admission that she only watched the original once and hated it further reinforced the perception that she lacks respect for the character's legacy. In contrast, Cooper's heartfelt reverence for the original story and her personal connection to its themes position her as a champion of tradition. This stark contrast makes Zegler's comments appear dismissive and out of touch. Fans who were already skeptical of Zegler's approach now see Cooper as a more authentic and respectful steward of the Snow White legacy, intensifying the scrutiny on Zegler's interpretation. The difference in how the two actresses approach Snow White reflects a deeper ideological clash. Zegler's interpretation aligns with modern feminist ideals, focusing on agency and leadership rather than traditional fairy tale romance. While this may resonate with some, it has also been criticized for stripping away the charm and appeal of the character's original essence. Cooper, on the other hand, represents a return to storytelling rooted in timeless values, appealing to fans disillusioned by Hollywood's perceived push for woke reimaginings. This ideological clash turns Cooper into a symbolic threat to Zegler's vision. By proving that a faithful portrayal of Snow White can still captivate audiences, Cooper challenges the necessity of Zegler's modernized narrative, leaving Zegler's creative choices open to intense scrutiny. Zegler's reactions to Cooper's portrayal may also reflect professional rivalry. Cooper's success, stepping into such a beloved role, despite being known primarily as a YouTuber, contrasts with Zegler's struggles to win over audiences as an emerging Hollywood star. This dynamic could amplify insecurities for Zegler, who might feel overshadowed by Cooper's ability to capture public admiration with a more traditional approach. Moreover, Ziegler's defensive stance and criticism of Cooper's portrayal only intensify perceptions of her as overly critical and dismissive. Instead of focusing on her own strengths, Ziegler's criticism risks appearing petty, which could further erode her credibility with fans. Cooper's portrayal has been widely celebrated for bringing Snow White back to life in a way that feels genuine and heartfelt. Fans have praised her ability to embody the character's essence while honoring the story's roots. Instead of focusing on her own strengths, Ziegler's criticism risks appearing petty, which could further erode her credibility with fans. Cooper's portrayal has been widely celebrated for bringing Snow White back to life in a way that feels genuine and heartfelt. Fans have praised her ability to embody the character's essence while honoring the story's roots. This positive reception contrasts sharply with the more divisive response to Ziegler's performance and comments. The more Cooper is celebrated, the more Ziegler's approach is cast in a negative light, creating a feedback loop that only heightens the tension between the two actresses. Ziegler's view of Cooper's portrayal as a threat underscores her insecurities about the reception of her own Snow White interpretation. It suggests that Ziegler is keenly aware of the backlash she's facing and feels defensive about being overshadowed by a more traditional take on the character. Her criticism of Cooper can be seen as an attempt to deflect attention from her own controversial choices, but it risks backfiring, reinforcing the perception that she is out of touch with the audience's expectations.
Somebody tweeted out and said, I like learning about the Snow White movie and realizing that Peter Dinklage took roles away from hardworking actors who have dwarfism so that he can pretend that he helped others by bitching. And then another person said, hey Snow White fans, if you were looking forward to the new live-action Snow White and don't know the whole story, you can thank Peter Dinklage for this. He felt threatened by anybody his height getting a dwarf role because people might realize that he is overrated. So obviously, I had to look into this. I did a little Google searching, and I found this article from 2022. Peter Dinklage says the seven dwarfs are an insult, but the reality is more complex. So the article says, during a conversation regarding Disney's upcoming live-action remake of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Dinklage praised Disney for casting a Latina actress as Snow White, but condemned them for continuing to present what he believed were outdated stereotypes. Now, this interview happened in January of 2022. It was published in February, but this happened in January. The article goes on, and they quote Dinklage saying, literally, no offense to anything. No, you're taking offense. But I was sort of taken aback.
And there you have it. Rachel Zegler versus Brett Cooper. A clash of visions and ideologies. Ziegler's harsh criticism of Cooper's Snow White may stem from insecurity or a deep fear of being overshadowed, while Cooper's faithful portrayal has garnered massive support, revealing cracks in Ziegler's modernized approach. This isn't just about two actresses, it's a cultural battle over tradition versus innovation. So, will Disney...
It's not tradition versus innovation. If it was tradition versus innovation, they wouldn't have changed it as much as they did. Okay, well, hold on. It depends on your point of view. If you're doing culture, Rachel Zegler loses. If you do innovation, Rachel Zegler loses. So are they just talking about Brett Cooper?
Snow White flop under the controversy, or will the Daily Wire's old school take prove stronger? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Are you Team Zegler or Team Cooper? Don't hold back.
I'm Team Cooper. Ooh, notifications. Nothing new. I'll be honest. And here we go again.
This was my father's kingdom. A place of fairness.
Like, who
Oh,
decided?
damn it.
Never mind.
I hit the
Whatever.
wrong thing.
So,
This was my father's kingdom. A place of fairness. But the queen.
take him away. What the hell was that? The face hugger?
What the fuck am I watching? Ugh.
So it's no secret that the Snow White trailer is universally hated. Half of the people hate it because of the freaking star, which I can't blame them. Half of the people hate it because it's Disney, and the rest are traumatized having seen what happened with these freaking things. God, I hate them so... like, who decided? Never mind, whatever. So anyway, I immediately took to the internet, just trying to see what other people were saying about it, and if there was any more news on it, because maybe there's a saving grace, right? It's very hard to come to that conclusion when Beelzebub herself is the main character. I mean, we can see clearly what people think about this. Wait, something's missing. What is missing? There we go. Okay. And when I found, I was honestly shocked because there's this guy, Stuart Heritage, what an interesting last name, who wrote for The Guardian, wish it away. Will the live action Snow White be a new low for Disney? Usually you have these pig-headed and pretentious journalists shilling for the companies because they know if they say anything bad about it, something bad's gonna happen. They're gonna melt or something. But I'm very shocked that the critics are actually coming out and criticizing the trailer and being very dubious whether or not this will be a success. I mean, unless you like Nightmare Fuel and things that are so bad that they're good or just so bad that they're bad. What was that? Okay. Wow, maybe it was, I thought that, okay, that was weird. Why did it come in so starkly?
You can see
I don't know,
the
there's
horns.
something uncanny about that. I know that she takes off the hood. Why does the reflection in her hair just happen so quickly? Could be the frame rate, but it looks very awkward. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Anyway, let's hear what the journalists have to say about this. I started reading this and I was just so shocked that one of the journalists actually wrote this, because it's so rare that you see them doing this today. He starts off by saying, a hauntingly bad new trailer for the studio's next live-action remake promises a nightmarish procession of CGI dwarves.
Ooh, that is awesome.
Very nice. He said, here are two things that recently happened in very quick succession. My oldest son opened his laptop and said, Daddy. I'm sorry. You guys knew what you were getting with me. Daddy. There's a new Snow White trailer. And then less than 2 minutes after that, he shrieked, Daddy, these dwarves are terrifying. I doubt the little kid said that, but it's still funny. Reader, it brings me no happiness to inform you that Disney has done it again. Several decades after shaping the animation industry as we know it, with exquisite, characterful, cutting-edge feature length fairy tales that are still rightfully regarded as classics, it has decided to squeeze out a hot, fat Jesus. Wow, this is a little bit... Damn, dude. Yeah, I just had to double check that this was the right article. Bro was not holding back. This dude was like, if I get fired today, this is gonna be my legacy, I swear to God. Damn, he went all in. He went, what is that costume? Why does everything look so cheaply made in this movie? Like, they're cosplaying, but not...
Yeah, they went deep on everything.
Not even the good kind. And why is she so sharp in the foreground? Like the background's not real. Maybe I'm just nitpicking, I know, but you know what? To be fair, when I was in film school, this is the kind of stuff our teacher would pick apart too. Like, look at this. You've got a smudge on your character's face. When that's blown up, like 4K monitor or whatever, like people can see that. Go do it again. But to be honest, the whole thing looks cheap. For some reason, whenever Disney releases live action remakes, they always look like they were things or productions that were released in the 1970s. Technology is supposed to advance how things look on screen, not make them look worse and washed out and devoid of life. It says, what's so horrible about it? The trailer or how the movie looks, you may ask. Well, there's the fact that after the 1937 Snow White movie and the 1961, wait, what? 1961 Snow White movie? What movie was that? And the 1969 sex comedy, The New Adventures of Snow White. What? Where are these things coming from? And the 1987 Snow White and 1990. Where are all these movies? Okay, I have to go look. That is a whale's pelvis amount of Snow White movies. Which one's the sex movie? Mirror, Mirror. I think that's the one people were talking about. Shh. what? There's a German one? Sydney White, Snow White, the sequel, Snow White with there's an anime of it? What in the world? Okay, now I'm actually curious. Stooges, Snow White, and I'm so confused right now. You know what? That's good. We learn things every day. Anyway, he continues by saying, A Tale of Terror in a 2005's The Brothers Grimm, and 2012's Mirror Mirror, and 2012's Snow White and the Huntsman, and 2016's The Huntsman Winter. Jesus. Plus all the assorted books, plays, operas. There was an opera of it too. TV shows. There's a TV show of Snow White. Where was I, bro? And video games based on Snow White. There isn't really all that much meat left on the bone. He has to be a comedian, I swear. More pressingly, though, there is the fact that this new Snow White is arguably the ugliest thing ever committed to screen. It treats the animals that Snow White finds in the woods with the same photorealistic CGI that was used in the most recent Lion King remake, which has the effect of transforming helpful woodland creatures. He said they're transformed into freaking vermin. This is why we need comedy, because it's the way he's delivering the lines that makes... I would definitely, if we had this guy talking on screen, I would definitely watch this over the actual movie. It gets funnier. Then he says, and then there are the dwarves. My God, the dwarves.
Nightmare fuel!
He says, I try not to use the term nightmare fuel any more than I possibly can, but yeesh. The design of the new dwarves feels like something that would be deliberately shown to prisoners of war to break their spirit. It's hard to even describe them. I think, and I might be wrong, that the film has used modern computer animation tactics to render the dwarves from the 1937 film as lifelike as possible, but just because they could doesn't mean they should have. He says the new Snow White dwarves look like someone who snuck into Disneyland, grabbed the statues from Snow White's Enchanted Wish, and wrapped them in human flesh. Oh my God, dude.
Y'all hear this, right? I'm gonna slash and gash, cutting out a hole in your ass. I spill blood on.
So wrap them in human flesh as a serial killer would with a gift for their mother. Ew. They look like something a seaside caricaturist would draw of someone they openly hated. They look like animatronic figures that were struck by lightning and came to life before the fire was put out. They look like someone has shaved the Sonic the Hedgehog from the first Sonic the Hedgehog trailer that everybody hated. Most impressively of all, they achieved the feat of somehow looking extremely racist. While not actually being racist at all. Nightmare fuel. Can you imagine? If you're in a world... Remember...
This girl can't stop laughing. Whoa, what's up with Obi? Did I lose internet? Okay, reconnected. It did this the other night too, where all of a sudden I'm going in and out. It's like someone's doxing me or something. I wouldn't be surprised. They don't like truth.
Remember how they had those old art pieces of, let's see, like fish, like animals, a hippopotamus, a crocodile, what in the world, dogs attacking a beaver, a tiger. That is what people thought a tiger looked like. A snail, a whale, lions and bears. Remember how, like, people thought that this is what this was? The dwarves were drawn as though somebody from that time was given a task. Like, everybody there did not have pale skin, right? Maybe they had darker skin, tan, black, whatever. And someone came back and was like, oh my God, I found these things in this land that we travel to, and they have pale skin and weird looking faces. And then the guy who's sketching it, or he tries to sketch what white people look like, and that's what he came up with. And then everyone that sees this is like, oh my fuck. We shouldn't ever go back to whatever land it was that you went to. Or some people will see this and be like, those things are so ugly as shit, we should hunt them. Like, we should hunt them for sport. That's I swear to God, that's what ew, look at the dude in the back. Freaking pedo-looking ass. Like, they just look so nasty. And you know what? They say it's racist, but it actually comes off as though the people who designed this, that's how they see dwarves. If you really want to take it that way, you could take it that way. You could be like, wow, this is how the rest of the studio see the dwarf community. They don't want to hire them for this role because they're second-class citizens. Why would they want to hire them? But on top of that, they make them minstrel monstrosities. It's so... the jokes basically write themselves. He goes on by saying, we should be used to this by now. It's an ongoing attempt to sully everything that anyone ever loved about it. Disney has ruined several classic animations with hideous CGI at this point. Tim Burton took Dumbo and turned it into an Athena poster as drawn by John Wayne Gacy. Don't know who any of those people are. The Lion King made the animals so lifelike that they lost all facial expression. Exactly. Made it uncanny as hell. The Little Mermaid took Sebastian the crab and transformed him into a literal real-life crab, which are not traditionally known for their reassuringly jaunty appearance. But Snow White represents a new low. Until now, the theory was that Disney was embarking on its campaign of live-action remakes as a way to extend copyright on its characters and stop them lapsing into the public domain. But, he says, but having seen the new Snow White dwarves, I think something slightly more fiendish is going on. I now think that Disney is making these ugly films so that any time in the future, if anyone thinks of making a Snow White movie of their own, they'll automatically be haunted by visions of this film's bulbous, gruesome, hell-spawned dwarves and be so busy crying and vomiting that they'll immediately go off the idea. At this point, that is the only logical conclusion. I'm dead.
Wow. That is brutal.
If all were right in the world, then on the basis of this trailer, Snow White would be locked away forever, like the day the clown cried. What? I don't get it. As it is, it will leak out to cinemas next March and scar a generation of young kids the same way Return to Oz did for us. On the plus side, though, I have a new thing to threaten my son with. Clean your room, kid, or I'll make you watch the trailer again. Honestly, it's that bad. People would need such a deep clean from watching this movie, I think, that they wouldn't, you know how people say they wash out their eyes with soap? No, I think for this particular production, you would need to, like, shut up your ass for maximum, not just penetration, but absorption. Because apparently people can, like, eat things through their ass. Not, you know what I mean? But that's how bad this is. You would need a deep, deep cleaning. So your mouth and your eyes is not enough. Look at their faces. Ew. I don't even know what to say, but this guy embodied it perfectly with his words. If you look at it too long, too, like, the more you look at it, the worse it gets. It's like your eye, you know something is wrong. The primitive internal red flag detector is telling you something is not just off, it is way off. And it's funny because everyone is talking about the trailer and Rachel Zegler already was bad enough. People would not see this movie or give it any money specifically because of her. But then on top of it, you have these freaking things. They should have made a horror movie Snow White. I told you, that's the idea they should have gone with. Look at this. Like, you cannot really blame people if these things were to come into life and they get the shit beat out of them on a daily basis. Like, inside, you'd want to feel sorry for them, but at the same time, they're literally designed for people to fuck them up. But that's just me.
Because it really sucks when they're the ones screaming the loudest about inclusion, and then they pull this stunt. So everybody can be included, except the little people. I mean, but we did give you that token, little person. Thanks. I won't be seeing this movie.
Oh, I got something new. Party Fall? Which one did they like? Yeah. It's just that post. Not close it. All right. Let's my career is over. Let's watch this one. I don't know if we watched it or not. I think we may have, but who cares?
New hairdo? Snow White hairdo?
Yeah, we watched it. Okay, cool. Let's hit refresh, see what comes up now. Okay, hold on, let's open this a new one.
To the bottomless, gaping pit of insecurity you call a soul.
Weird.
Eventually, probably soon, the world will recognize you for the pitiful disappointment you are. You are not worthy of my respect. You are not a god. You are simply bad product.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. AI gets a rap for being a left-wing programmed zeitgeist that doesn't actually reflect reality, that it's being effectively fed propaganda from the left. But I gotta tell you, Google nailed it with this one. I typed into Google Snow White dislikes, and the AI overview goes like this. The trailer for Disney's live-action Snow White remake received over 1 million dislikes on YouTube. The trailer has over 1 million dislikes on YouTube, with only around 80,000 likes. The backlash is because of Rachel Zegler's portrayal. The woke agenda perceived, whatever, the original film's dated ideas about women in power. Yes, it's getting disliked because of the original film. Oh, man. Some of the reactions to the trailer were objective and pointed out the flaws in the trailers. Others say the reactions were racist. Concerns for Disney, a large number of dislikes compared to the likes could be concerning for Disney, who's hoping for a big turnout in theaters. Please go watch it. Gotta tell you, you nailed it with this one, Google AI. That's right. Rachel Zegler is the reason why everyone hates this movie, because we can't suspend our imagination enough to believe that she is somehow fairer than Gal Gadot, right? It's like unbelievable. Everyone, we'll all go, everyone will go see Into the Spider-Verse, right? And Wolverine and Deadpool, but no one's going to see this because no one can suspend their eyeballs. Can't happen. Won't happen. Trailer for Disney Snow White remake passes 1 million dislikes. Oh yeah, baby, making it the most disliked trailer in
history.
Well, Hollywood history. That's amazing. Snow White remake trailer reaches unfortunate milestone with YouTube dislikes. Yeah, it is pretty brutal right now for Disney. They've lost to Sonic with the Mufasa live-action Lion King remake. I don't know who decided that would be a good idea. Nobody really wanted that. And then they decided to double and triple down on this. They take the most disliked trailer in history and they release more of it. And here's what Disney released.
A special look at Disney's Snow White in theaters everywhere March 21st.
My father told me long ago I braved a bitter storm of snow. Is that a girl I'll ever know again?
Oh man, I'm not gonna be able to make it through this 50 seconds. How you couldn't just film a snowstorm? You couldn't just build an actual fountain. You couldn't just there's not a fountain in the world. The CGI looks so bad, and people are just so done with all this green screen acting. They want things that are real and authentic, and it's why the biggest directors are obviously building out practical universes and sort of returning people to reality instead of this. It looks so bad. This looks so bad. Okay, so this is look at the. Why would a little bird and a squirrel be out in the middle of a freaking freezing blizzard? You know they're animals, right? You know they want to survive, right? You couldn't just build. You can just find a practical, well. It's amazing.
That a girl I'll ever know again. I'm waiting on a wish beneath 1,000 treetops, and as the silver sky stops, I long to leave the walls behind me.
Gave her this haircut. What is this haircut? What is this?
Barcott.
Waiting on a wish, holding out for someday, hoping somehow, some way. Here comes a miracle to find me. I close my eyes and see the girl I'm meant to be. Is she a part of me I've had to hide?
It's definitely not going to work, Disney. It's not going to work because this whole rebrand that you're trying to do with Rachel Zegler's not working. Now the little snippet of the trailer is now ratioed again. You're looking at 3,000 likes and 24,000 dislikes. That is a nuclear ratio. That is a 7-to-1 ratio. So it's on its way. It's on its way to following up with the granddaddy of them all, the most disliked trailer of all time, with 1 million dislikes on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Why is Disney doing this to itself? You should just trash this project. There's no way that this is going to be anything other than a humiliation for you, but I want it to be released. I'm excited about it. It gets released in March, which is not too long from now. I'm excited about it because I think that this, while Bud Light might have been the beginning, this will be the end. This will be the end of race swapping, gender swapping, of retconning a story, of taking a classic that everyone loved and making it for the imaginary modern audience. Look at this trailer. Look at this. Look how garbage. This is the official trailer. Again, I'll gladly watch Deadpool and Wolverine. It's more believable. Deadpool and Wolverine going through the multiverse and breaking the fourth wall and making jokes is more believable than this woman being jealous of this woman's looks. Oh, man. And Robbie Starwick saying, I just have to be real here. As a Latino myself, none of us asked for Snow White to be a Latina. She shall henceforth be known as Snow DEI White, and the movie will absolutely bomb because it is ridiculous, and also because in real life she is a lunatic. And this will be another massive disaster for Disney. Yes, it will. This trailer got ratioed. Sorry, Disney. As a Trump voter, I'm never going to pay money to see a movie starring somebody who hopes I never know peace. And I look forward to the movie losing hundreds of millions of dollars. I think it'll lose more than that. Rachel Zegler has been so problematic since the beginning. It's hard for me to see her and think that's a princess. She's tainted and ruined the character from the start, and it's hard to enjoy. She's really speedrunning. She's speedrunning the end of her career. It's very impressive. I just hate how the hair is giving me Lord Farquaad more than Snow White. They're about to lose so much money. This movie looks and feels AI generated. Yes, that's right. Looks terrible. CGI looks awful. Disney live action movies are slop. Fed up with this. And most importantly, boy, the hating on this one. Rachel Zegler really is a PR nightmare. Stop hiring people that hate you, right? Stop hiring people that hate the source material. I'm talking to you, Disney. Not only does Rachel Zegler hate MAGA, she hates Disney. Listen to the way she talks about the original classic. Listen to the way she talks about Walt Disney. Oh, it's outdated. Oh, you should have known better. Okay, lady, start your own production company, right? Take over the world. Everyone's done. Everyone's done with it. Everyone's sick of it. And the ratios are just an indication of exactly how bad things are going to be. And, Google AI really nailed it with this one. Rachel Zegler. Reason for the backlash. Rachel Zegler.
So true. So true.
The Disney adaptation of Snow White is turning out to be a terrible disaster. Rachel Zegler's stunning words sparked such an uproar that the current trailer has already received over 800,000 dislikes. But what did she say that sparked such fury, and why is Disney CEO Bob Iger being humiliated as a result? Are these alterations, which range from deleting the dwarfs to erasing the prince, destroying a treasured classic? Let's look at the uproar, and why fans think this is Disney's worst error yet. Disney CEO Bob Iger is facing yet another public disgrace, this time due to Rachel Zegler, the lead actress in Disney's Snow White film. The uproar has erupted only weeks after Zegler made provocative remarks that enraged millions of Americans. Adding fuel to the fire, Disney just released the second trailer for the film, But rather than winning over fans, it has further fueled the wrath. As of December 10th, the trailer had received 800,000 dislikes and only 7,000 likes. At this pace, it appears that it will only be a matter of time before it reaches the million hate level, resulting in yet another black eye for Disney. But why is this specific remake generating such strong reactions? After all, Disney's live-action remakes have always been divisive. Titles such as Dumbo and The Lion King have garnered criticism, but what distinguishes Snow White as the focus of popular outrage? The dissatisfaction appears to originate from a combination of nostalgia for the original and resentment of Disney's more ambitious efforts to modernize classic stories. It's not just about how the trailer looks, though most fans think it's not very remarkable. You have to separate the pity party from the passion and the power, from creating the fairy dust. The true issue stems from the artistic considerations behind the remake, as well as the cultural period in which Disney has decided to intervene. The Snow White debate is about more than simply dodgy trailers or poor graphics. It's about Disney's artistic direction and its persistent attempt to modernize classics at the price of their timeless appeal. Let's be honest, no one truly asked for a Snow White remake, not exactly. This was not a fan-favorite request, but rather part of Disney's continuous plan to use historical property for maximum profits. The original Snow White, debuted in 1937, was a breakthrough masterpiece. The first full-length animated picture, its creativity and cultural importance have endured the test of time. So why change what works? Instead of letting this famous picture alone, Disney seemed intent to recreate it, resolving flaws that no one had considered in the first place. Victor Hoor stands ready, he wrote, at the Treasury, in the first night of the St. Paul's Square Disney Casino and Loft. This isn't simply a blunder, it's a race to public scorn. This remake has seemed like a lightning point for controversy from the start, thanks to artistic decisions that appear to be more concerned with making a message than honoring the charm of the original. However, the anger extends beyond the movie itself. It is a part of a larger cultural discussion about the entertainment business, with Snow White caught in the crossfire of Hollywood's attempts to remake treasured stories to suit a new mold. Fans aren't only unhappy with the modifications, they are fed up with the recurring practice of using classics as battlegrounds for bigger ideological battles.
What does this tell us, Chris? It tells us the cultural significance of pissing everybody off, and not just our sphere, everybody. And this is why we talk about Snow White, the movie.
Disney is straddling a precarious line between two distinct eras of filmmaking. On the one hand, we live in the era of intellectual property, IP, in which studios are cautious, almost terrified to take risks on creative ideas. Instead, they rely largely on nostalgia, believing that the familiarity of classics would entice viewers back into the theaters. As clinical psychologist, biochemist Alison Hoffman writes, on the other hand, we're just coming out of a period in which companies, including Disney, worked hard to include progressive concepts, often known as wokeism, into their stories. While the objective may have been to modernize and diversify storytelling, the execution frequently angered viewers who believed their treasured stories were being radically transformed. This battle of values between nostalgia and current reimaginings has put Snow White squarely in the crosshairs. One of the more contentious changes? A full reworking of the legendary Seven Dwarfs. Early sources stated that the film will be about Snow White and 7 supernatural beings, rather than Snow White and the 7 Dwarves. Why did the change occur? Peter Dinklage, an actor, criticized the original plot for being unpleasant to children. While his reasoning was legitimate, the proposed remedy of replacing the dwarfs with nebulous supernatural figures merely drew mockery. Fans quickly mocked this technique, calling it an unneeded and uncomfortable attempt to avoid controversy. Instead of intelligently addressing the issue, the modification came off as an overcorrection, removing the story's distinct and memorable characters while presenting a remedy that was, well, stupid.
There were demands from certain groups rather than audiences to make every female character strong. That was pushed so much and done so badly that people are tired of it. Whenever you give somebody too much of one thing, they eventually ask...
Casting Rachel Zegler as Snow White has sparked even more debate. Disney seems to have overlooked a key issue. Snow White is more than a moniker. It is a precise description. Her complexion is described in the original narrative as Snow White. So when Disney casts Zegler, whose look does not fit this important quality, It felt like a basic misunderstanding of the character's core. While race bending is effective in some cases, such as Halle Bailey's portrayal of Ariel in The Little Mermaid, Snow White's identity is linked to her name and description. In this scenario, changing her persona seems superfluous, especially when fans have such a deep attachment to the original. Another concern with these adjustments is that Disney appears to approach its audience as if they are unfamiliar with the classics. The corporation appears to be focusing on updating its famous stories to reflect current principles. However, doing so risks losing sight of what made these stories so memorable in the first place. For example, in The Little Mermaid, Disney changed the songs and deleted significant moments, ostensibly to make the film more relevant to today's standards. However, these revisions came off as preachy, as if the original content needed to be fixed. In essence, what kept these films alive was their ability to convey timeless appeal without the need for frequent revisions. 3. The original Snow White may not be flawless by today's standards, but it is treasured for its genuineness and timeless appeal. Modernizing it in this way feels like a disservice, since it erases what made it so appealing to viewers in the first place. Instead than improving the heritage, it might alienate those who grew up with the original. Disney's treatment of Snow White shows a larger issue. The studio has relied largely on its iconic films for easy wins, but with each contentious judgment, it becomes evident that this strategy has its limitations. Continue to ignore the primary audience, and they may ultimately quit supporting these remakes completely.
The fans disrespecting Snow White, which helped build Disney, disrespecting half the country doesn't help your film. All press is good press is bullshit.
Next, let us discuss the prince, or more specifically, his absence. According to early stories, Snow White would not wait for a prince to save her. Instead, the plot was written in such a manner that he appears to play no essential role. On the surface, this may appear to be a progressive move. After all, nobody wants a heroine in distress narrative in 2024, right? But here's where things become difficult. Snow White was not about a defenseless princess waiting for her prince to arrive. The prince was never at the center of her trip. Rather, he served as a symbol of hope and a catalyst for the final chapter. The main focus of Snow White's narrative has always been her bravery, compassion, and tenacity in the face of great odds. So, eliminating the prince entirely and framing it as some sort of female success seems incorrect. Disney appears to be attempting to rewrite a tale that never needed to be fixed in order to make it more current. Let us not overlook Rachel Zegler's participation in this incident. If Disney's actions weren't already causing controversy, Zegler's interviews surely fueled the fire. In one especially famous case, she criticized the original Snow White as out of date, meaning that the new rendition was somehow fixing the classic's problems. This aggressive position simply widened the gap, infuriating supporters who believed the original's integrity was being attacked.
It's actually wanted the love story. There is a demand for that, but there's not a demand for this. And Snow White just kind of represents how out of touch Hollywood is and how they're not actually giving people what they want with the.
Here's the problem. Rachel Zegler's statements offended a lot of people, and rightfully so. Instead of honoring the original Snow White, her comments appeared to downplay its significance, which sounded almost snobbish. The issue here isn't just what
No, it wasn't almost snobbish. She is a snob.
Zegler said, but how she said it. Her tone was condescending and out of touch with the audience Disney is attempting to attract. Fans did not want to be patronized, especially when it came to a cherished classic like Snow White. Zegler's remarks about Snow White not requiring a prince to save her were well-intentioned, but they just fueled the criticism. Many viewers believed it was an effort to impose a modern narrative on a story that was not originally about romance. It wasn't just her opinions, it was how she conveyed them. It came out as disdainful of the original, as if Disney believed they understood more than the public who grew up with the narrative. This is not a one-off instance, it is part of a much wider problem with Disney's approach to remakes. Audiences are becoming tired of seeing their favorite stories altered and remade to suit a mold that sometimes appears superfluous. It's not about fighting development, it's about feeling as if these adjustments are more about checking boxes than adding value to the original.
She literally says it, whatever. If you don't vote blue, I don't need your business.
May you never know peace. May you never know peace.
Yeah.
That's pretty hard.
That's quite harsh. The choice to replace the dwarfs with magical characters is an excellent example. It was intended to prevent upsetting anyone. but it resulted in an entirely new set of problems. Disney not only failed to answer the initial objection by deleting the parts normally assigned to tiny people performers, but they also passed up the opportunity to create more meaningful representation. Fans who agreed with Peter Dinklage's original complaint felt that Disney's answer was an overblown, ludicrous attempt at political correctness, and made the case for why a third film, produced by Star Wars: The Caribbean. Ultimately, Disney's alterations to Snow White mirror a larger trend of making improvements no one asked for while eschewing true innovation where it counts. Fans are not furious because they are anti-progress. They're irritated because these modifications frequently appear superfluous and theatrical, rather than serving the tale itself. Here's the fact for Disney. The present approach to remakes clearly has to be overhauled. Instead of attempting to alter old classics or fit them into a current agenda, Disney should investigate why these stories resonated with fans in the first place. Fans don't want a pristine rendition of a film. They seek authenticity and a true connection to the people and tales they have treasured. They want to see these masterpieces honored, rather than changed to fit the newest trends. What do you think about all this Snow White drama? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and be sure to subscribe for more updates.
All right, here we go, another one. All right.
All right, so this is a suggestion via Discord. The name of the video is Rachel Zegler's Downfall after South Park ended her career. Did they? I don't know. Let's find out. Let's go check it out.
But it's hard. And it's lonely. It's very lonely. I just know that if that loneliness can exist, so can other things, and I will be okay.
Okay. Right.
Boy, if you don't...
South Park, that ever-sassy cultural commentator, has officially weighed in on Disney's latest attempt to sprinkle some woke pixie dust over its beloved classics. And let's be honest, if you end up as a target on South Park, you know you've become part of a national conversation.
Absolutely.
Or at least the punchline of it.
I'm gonna be honest, guys. I mean, listen, her interviews have been absolutely terrible. So, would it surprise me that South Park, the legend of legends, basically did something regarding her? No.
South Park, you know you've become part of a national conversation. Or at least the punchline of it. This time, South Park hilariously skewered Disney for what many critics are calling a checklist approach to diversity. According to the animated series, the Magic Kingdom strategy is simple. Play a game of Who Wants to Be Diverse, and switch up the races, genders, and heck, maybe even the species of its iconic characters.
Put another gay diverse woman in it, make it more fucking lit.
Gone is the dreamy love story, replaced with a narrative that would probably make Gloria Steinem proud. Fans are left scratching their heads, wondering if this new and improved Snow White is really the fairest of them all, or just an identity crisis wrapped in CGI and high production costs. Rachel Zegler, the actress who initially seemed ecstatic about her dream role, soon found herself embroiled in a whirlwind of controversy that even a magical forest couldn't hide. In early interviews, she expressed delight at playing one of Disney's most iconic heroines. Fast forward a bit, and suddenly she's serving up spicy hot takes like Snow White is a weird story about a guy who literally stalks a teenager. There goes the prince's reputation, shattered like Cinderella's glass slipper. If that weren't enough, Zegler confessed that she watched the original Snow White once as a kid and was so traumatized that she never went back for round 2. Terrifying, she
really, said. As a kid.
Her dismissive comment.
It tells me, honestly, a lot about her parents, right? I mean, it seems like her parents most likely just completely bombarded her with the ideologies of the left almost exclusively. And that's what it sounds like. What is so terrible about the original story, guys? I mean, yeah, is it old? Yeah. Right, is it, like, specifically normalized to be treated the way that Snow White was treated?
For what? Her mom was a Disney fan, so.
These days? No, right? But understand what it is, all right? It was a time that is long gone, right? And let's just enjoy it for kind of what it is, because it's the reason why people watch old movies, yeah?
Comments didn't exactly scream passionate ambassador of a classic, and it wasn't long before the internet collectively raised its eyebrows and declared, "Girl, did you not know what you were signing up for?" Right. As if the drama needed more layers, Zegler's behavior off camera became a juicy topic of gossip. One viral interview showed her talking about her role in Shazam. "I needed a job," she bluntly stated, leaving fans wondering if she was auditioning for the role of Hollywood's least enthusiastic superhero.
What made you want to step
step into this world of DC heroes. I needed a job. I'm being so serious. The reality was we were in the middle of a pandemic and I was not working and I couldn't get a job for the life of me because West Side Story hadn't come out yet. And
really him. You're a victim.
Yeah.
Here we go, CSI.
Bro, listen, you could have definitely gotten a job, but the problem is like just like when many celebrities or famous people have exist, let's say, find it really hard to work a regular job. That's the reality of the situation. You could have definitely found a job. You just were too prideful.
Rumored diva behavior on set, and suddenly Ziegler's public image went from Cinderella at the ball to Cinderella scrubbing floors. Let's just say, if there were a fairy godmother for reputation management, she'd be working overtime. The plot thickens, because Disney isn't exactly singing Hakuna Matata either. Reports from disastrous test screenings sent the studio into a full-on panic. Audiences supposedly recoiled like Snow White spotting the evil queen. In a desperate attempt to salvage the situation, Disney cut 3 songs that Zegler had contributed. Insiders speculate that cutting her songs signals just how badly things went down. Imagine writing your own songs for a major movie, only to watch them get the axe. Hollywood dreams, am I right? To make matters worse, Zegler has reportedly been sidelined from promotional events. What once looked like a glittery red carpet of...
Bro, under no circumstance, if I ran any type of production company that basically utilized her by any means, what I would do is never allow her to speak on camera. That's the reality.
Fair now resembles a Hollywood horror story. Rumors swirl.
I gotta agree. They don't want her talking. That's the whole thing. Why they're not inviting her. That is the whole thing right there. They don't want her talking.
That Disney is trying to distance itself from the backlash, and many wonder, is the studio sacrificing Zegler on the altar of public relations? Or is this just a classic case of speak now, regret later, coming back to haunt her? Either way, Zegler might want to avoid any apples offered to her in the near future, just to be safe. As if fans didn't already have enough grievances, Disney decided to give the 7 dwarves a politically correct makeover. The beloved pint-sized miners have been swapped out for a diverse group of characters who may or may not have as much personality as Dopey on a bad day. Fans argue that without the dwarves, the movie isn't Snow White. It's more like a random forest lady and her assorted friends. Critics are now asking, if you change the love story, cut out the dwarves and keep only the apple, is it still even Snow White? If we're being honest, at this rate, the evil queen is probably thinking of rebranding herself as a misunderstood wellness guru. Critics are as split as the Red Sea. Some
I gotta agree. She was the good character in this.
Say Zegler's comments justify Disney's icy treatment. Others believe she's become a scapegoat, a cautionary tale of what happens when Hollywood politics clash with unfiltered opinions. But one thing is clear. This remake is a PR nightmare. Disney is caught in a seemingly endless loop trying to balance staying faithful to its classics while also riding the wave of modern values. Ultimately, Zegler's Hollywood experience feels like a grim reminder that fame is a double-edged sword. One day, you're a rising star singing about dreams coming true, and the next, you're dodging metaphorical poison apples. Meanwhile, Disney is sweating over its $200 million investment, hoping this Snow White remake doesn't end up as the fairest flop of them all. Whether this movie breaks box office records or sinks like a magic mirror in quicksand, the story behind it is already more fascinating than any fairy tale Disney could dream up.
All right, guys. Here's the thing. Snow White is going to do well. Like, no matter what we all speak about on the internet, let's say, it's going to do well because it's Disney, right? Is it going to break all the records on Earth, guys? No. We already know what it's about, right? I mean, if the writers have the same overall ideology, which they most likely do, because, guys, Disney 2025, basically. You get what I mean here? It is what it is. They are what they are. They're not going to change, right? But if the writers have the same ideology that she does, then the film is going to basically be that anyway. Based off of what we've seen kind of coming from it, yeah, it probably is, right? But is it going to do well? Absolutely. It's Disney. It's of course it's going to do well. But it's not, I mean, I can't imagine it breaking many records in the United States.
I don't think it's going to break records, period.
States of America. Outside of America, maybe, right? Where there's less...
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to disagree with you. I don't think it's going to do well. You're just basing it on the popularity of what Disney used to be. So, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna have to start removing that. All I did was share it, and you've seen it. It just pops up with those random friggin' posts. I don't even know how to change that, so I just have it.
I don't know, political battles, ideological battles between groups and things like that, right? It'll work. Period. It's going to work. But unfortunately, I just don't want Rachel Zegler to work, guys. Right? That may sound terrible. It may, potentially, right? But I'm just not a super fan of her and her mouth, guys. So I'm not going to support her. Basically, that's how that works here, guys. All right? Period. The name of the channel this video came from is Think About It. You guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly.
This is my lightsaber. Hey guys, you guys subscribe to the other channels?
Okay. Betrayed.
Oh boy. This is a can of worms. Hi, my name is Sydney, welcome back to hell. And as per usual, before we launch in, today's video is sponsored by Lumen, who are actually great. Also, I am very sorry that I disappeared for the last 6 weeks, but that's because you guys actually blessed me with a ton of tea orders through my company, Lions Tea Exchange, and that's been keeping me very busy because, as you all know, I am the only person who packs and ships all of those. Obviously, and I hope you guys know this, I am so grateful for all of the orders. It's been really cool, but I do have to tell you all that the good and bad news here is that that means I also don't have a ton of inventory left of the new winter flavors, so if you want to try one, I suggest grabbing a box, or if you have already bought them and you really like them and you want to stockpile, also buy a box, because I don't think they're going to be around for too much longer. Also, I have launched a new thing on the website called Ugly Boxes, and these are basically just my regular tea boxes, but they have packaging defects, so maybe they've been crushed in transit or there's a misprint or something, but the tea inside is still good and I don't want to waste them. I don't want to be a wasteful person, so instead I have just discounted them, so you can go check them out too. The links to everything will be in the description. Now, I really ummed and ahed about commenting on this Brett Cooper situation, largely because I really like to stay in my own lane. Also because I made a really dramatic video and then just disappeared for 6 weeks, and you know, obviously that's not the greatest thing to do to your audience. It's not cool. But as I have watched a lot of the commentary and the speculation and everything as it has unfolded, I decided that I do in fact want to weigh in. Because like I said, apparently this is what I do now. I disappear for a month and then I reappear, ready to say crazy things. So for those of you who don't know, Brett Cooper, until recently, hosted the Daily Wire show The Comment Section. The show was geared towards younger people, and the premise was that Brett would read people's comments on various issues and topics and weigh in herself. She built a huge audience in a very short space of time and has gotten really popular as a conservative online personality. Then, a few weeks ago, information started popping up suggesting that Brett was being pushed out of the company, but also her show. Obviously. A video posted to Twitter by a lad called Ian Carroll made several claims about Daily Wire and some of the alleged issues and unrest taking place at the company. Ian said a lot of things, but specifically, he had this to say about Brett. What is my voice doing?
And it looks like Brett Cooper signed that exact kind of contract. And she has built her brand and earned her place with 4.5 million subscribers, loyal fans. But then when I talked to my source, it got real dark. And I'm not sure why Brett wanted out and started to be unhappy there and why this whole thing started. My source wasn't really sure either. But once she crossed Jeremy Boring and Jeremy was pissed, he decided he would replace her with her best friend. And so he made a contract offer that Reagan apparently could not refuse, and he is now replacing Brett with Reagan slowly until the expiration of the current contract with Brett in December.
Ian is referencing something here that many viewers of the show were finding a little bit confusing and maybe somewhat suspicious. That this random woman called Reagan was showing up to basically fill in for Brett. And then obviously now that we know that Reagan is Brett's producer and also Brett's best friend. or she used to be. Reagan even attended Brett's wedding as her maid of honor, so they're good friends, or they were at least, which in my opinion makes all of this so much worse. Ian goes on to say that Brett has signed an NDA and therefore is barred from commenting on any of this, and that Reagan reportedly took acting classes to try to emulate Brett's mannerisms and speech on the show.
So she is being forced to continue her show as though nothing is going on, while they replace her with her best friend. And probably are going to manufacture some sort of like slander or like, I don't know, I'm just speculating, but they're probably going to manufacture some sort of logical reason why Brett pushed herself out and they had to fill in with Reagan. Apparently, they even gave Reagan acting classes for her to emulate Brett's every movement and word.
So obviously, Ian Carroll's video popped off because of course it did. Everybody loves drama. Don't lie, you know you all do. It's like the modern version of observing gladiator battles, except absolutely no one has abs. And there's no wildlife, no lions. There are snakes though. I am sorry for the extra weird interjections that are probably going to come through in this video today. I'm very hyped up for some reason. I don't know. Anyway, around this same time too, people also observed that Brett's content on the channel wasn't even new. As in, it wasn't really covering news stories as it usually would, but seemingly recycling other pieces of content made in the last little while. FYI, in content making land, we call this evergreen. Like the trees that don't lose their leaves. I hope that's self-explanatory. But you want to know what's not always self-explanatory? Your metabolism and health, which is why today's video is sponsored by Lumen. Are you tired of counting calories, getting terrible sleep, eating lettuce leaves and hoping that you'll suddenly look like someone from Baywatch? If this sounds like you, then buckle up because I have a solution. And it's this nifty little device called Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach, and honestly guys, I actually love this thing. This little device measures your metabolism through your breath and lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs, and then gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, workout, sleep, and even stress management. Because we're adults and everything is stressful all of the time. Your Lumen is incredibly easy to use. Once you've set it up and downloaded the app, all you have to do is breathe into it first thing in the morning to know what your metabolism is doing. Then, Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your reading, which is incredibly cool. But really, you can use your Lumen whenever you want, before or after workouts, before meals, after meals, so you know exactly what's going on with your body in real time. And I have to say, I personally love this little device and I'm so excited to see what it can do for me, because although it's not a quick fix and it does require actual lifestyle changes, it provides really important insights into what your metabolism is doing. Maybe it can help me grow a muscle. Yeah. So if you too want to take your own health into your hands, then click the link in the description, scan the QR code on screen, or go to lumen.me/Sydney15 for 15% off your Lumen. Again, that's lumen.me/Sydney15 for 15% off your purchase. Soon enough, after lots and lots of speculation, Brett herself announced that she was in fact leaving the Daily Wire, saying that most of the rumors were true, but the choice to leave was her own.
Hey guys, some of you have heard the rumors online, and the rumors are mostly true. Today, December 10th, will be my last day hosting the comment section and working for the Daily Wire. It is not true that I am being forced out. It was my own choice to leave. And believe me, this is bittersweet. I have had the most unbelievable 3 years helping to craft the show, building this community, and telling stories and sharing the truth every day. But at this point in my life, I am ready to take on a new direction, both personally and professionally. This means new challenges and new endeavors, which I will share with you soon. As for this show, the comment section will continue with the Daily Wire. My producer, Reagan, is taking over as host of the comment section, and I wish her and the Daily Wire all the best.
This, to me, feels like a hostage video. Blink twice if you need help, Brett. Viewers observed and made the comment that in this video, Brett looks and seems very emotional and almost on the verge of tears, which I think is pretty understandable when you have made something and created this thing that is doing very well and you're kind of having it ripped out from under you. I don't know. I have to imagine that's pretty painful, no? The thing you have dedicated multiple years of your life to, poured your heart and soul into, that's now being hand it over to your best friend and producer while you have to make hostage videos pretending that you're fine. I'm just saying. Now, obviously, and unsurprising to absolutely none of us, fans were quite upset by this. And unsurprisingly, the channel has been bleeding subscribers. People have also noticed that Brett unfollowed the Daily Wire as a company, its CEO, and even Brett's replacement Reagan herself on social media. And I think all of my sarcasm and joking and whatever aside, I think you really only need to be a person with eyes to see that this situation is obviously not a good one. So that is everything that has happened to date publicly that you can go and look at yourselves, and I hope you feel sufficiently filled in. And yes, here is the part where I'm going to tell you all of my opinions. So right out of the gate, full disclosure, Brett and I are not friends. We don't talk, we don't have girly catch-ups on the phone where we talk about fingernails and babies. I don't know why I'm acting like what women talk about is a mystery to me when I am in fact a woman and have lots of female friends. Like, what is wrong with me today? One of you lovely viewers once actually bought Brett some of my tea and had me post it to her, I think in an effort to have her try it, like it, and then promote it. So that is in fact as close as she and I have ever gotten to one another. And I hope you liked the tea, Brett. But I am saying all of this because I want it to be very clear that Brett hasn't told me any of this herself, and I'm saying it because I want to, and because I have eyes and the ability to do some deductive reasoning. I think one of the really hard to swallow pills here is that right-wing conservative media is not free of the same bad behavior and bad practice that goes on a lot of the time at left-wing networks. I've been saying this publicly for some time to varying degrees, and I realize that every time I do, it doesn't really win me a lot of friends, and actually it runs the risk of not only alienating but upsetting audiences and viewers and whatnot, because it's hard to hear that the networks or the personalities or whatever that you like and that you think are trying to do great things and are ideologically on the same page as you are doing untoward things sometimes behind the scenes. But by the same token, I am also of the view that those of you with functioning frontal lobes are already aware of this information, and you can see it for what it is, regardless of the fact that you ideologically are on the same page as, again, these networks and people and institutions. Where there is money and potentially fame, there is a lot of ego, and there is a lot of very, very bad behavior. Now that I'm saying it, I actually kind of feel like it's probably the same thing in basically any industry. Especially for you finance bros. I don't actually know too many finance bros to be able to make that kind of a statement, but I do know that a lot of them are borderline alcoholics, so do with that information what you will. Anyway, having been in the media industry for a number of years now, both on the periphery but also involved in many things, I have heard a lot of horror stories from not only people that I am adjacent to, but friends of mine. I have had my own experiences, and I have seen a lot of not great things go down. So with that said, that is why I feel very confident weighing in here generally, and also why I don't feel like I am running the risk of putting out misinformation. I think at this point a lot of you have come to trust me, at least to some extent, and you know that I don't really do things because I want to be involved in drama, unless it's making fun of Australian breakdances. So I do hope that what I am saying does not come across as wild speculation. Bottom line, just use your big old brains, you know? You don't have to take what I'm saying as gospel. You can if you want. You don't have to take it with a grain of salt. You can if you want. Just use your head and, you know, do your own deductive reasoning. I don't need to know the nitty-gritty details to know that something not great is happening behind the scenes, and I can say with almost 100% certainty that for Brett, this is not rainbows and butterflies. I know she didn't leave on good terms. I do not believe that she left of her own volition or free will, because realistically, guys, why would you leave a show at the height of its popularity when it's doing tremendously well, when you have seen a massive explosion in growth, and you yourself are so young and up and coming with one of the biggest organizations in media? It logically doesn't make any sense career-wise. Her hostage video was likely scripted with a ton of legal oversight. Lawyers were probably very involved, and it was agreed upon by both parties as to not draw any more attention to the situation than there already was with all the speculation and whatnot. And I can say with absolute certainty that Brett has signed a big, fat, brutal NDA that means that even if she wants to talk about this, she can't. I don't need to know her personally to know that she signed some type of non-disparagement, non-disclosure document that means that even if she experienced some type of mistreatment while working at the company, she can't say anything about it. And I know this because it is a tool of the industry. It is one of several that are employed, but is the primary one that forces people to shut up. It forces them to slink away into the shadows, and it's this kind of hovering threat that if you do or say anything that is misperceived, that you get dragged into court and litigated into oblivion. Basically, everybody that I know who has worked in media, who has worked for a major company, has signed one of these kind of documents. They sign it when they originally sign on and sign a contract, and then they sign another one again sometimes when they leave the company. Now, to some of you, this probably seems quite normal and fine, that companies and business owners and entities, whatever, have the right to protect themselves from potential disparagement or whatever from a previous employee, and by the same token, that that employee also needs to have protection from the company that might do or say something that might impede their chances in the future of finding work. But the problem is that these NDAs inevitably end up covering up wrongdoing. So situations that aren't illegal, they're not close to being illegal, but they do involve bad behavior and mistreatment that would certainly alter the way that people perceive the individuals involved, or maybe even the company or entity or whatever at large. So audiences simply never know and they never find out, and it means that a lot of this stuff is allowed to not only continue but to proliferate. And I know some of you are not going to like hearing me say this, but I know for a fact that Daily Wire has had some people sign forever NDAs that effectively prohibit them from discussing their awful, awful experiences while working for the company. And I want to be crystal clear here. What I'm referring to goes beyond the realm of, oh, this person's unhappy, it's a disgruntled employee, and ventures into, not even ventures into, moves fully into the realm of Daily Wire is effectively covering up bad stuff and then using legal documents to stop that information from coming to light. Hello, cherubs. It is Editing Sydney here from the future, and I just want to say with relation to that last statement, for legal reasons, that is all alleged. Once again, for legal reasons, that is all alleged. Now back to the video. I hope you are all able to understand why I can't go into detail or explain further here as much as I would really like to. So back to Brett. I will say again, I don't know what happened specifically to her. What I do know is that this wasn't a happy parting of ways. And as an aside, I've just gotta say, I think it's really messed up that Brett is not only being replaced with her best friend and producer, but that she's being replaced at all. Again, I don't know Reagan. I'm sure she's a nice person, but, and I'm trying to find a nice way of saying this, it's not great to me to take your best friend's job. I find it not awesome to do this to somebody that you reportedly, allegedly care about. And evidently, Brett doesn't appreciate it either, which is why they're not friends anymore, which is why she doesn't follow her on social media, and I dare say that we won't be seeing the two of them together in polite company anytime soon. Perhaps what adds insult to injury here is that this whole situation is being painted as a peaceful transition, the passing of the torch, if you will, but if it was that, then why didn't this happen on camera with the two of them in the same room? Why wasn't there any sort of discussion between the two of them publicly that demonstrates that things are fine? When there's silence, silence is often indicative of not good stuff going on. But again, I feel like that's just me beating a dead horse because I think it's pretty clear that these two are not friends, that this wasn't a peaceful transition, that it wasn't a happy moment where, oh, my friend is leveling up and I'm going off to do something else. I think that we'd be kidding ourselves if if we arrived at that conclusion. Beyond that, I think it's actually really important to note that assuming that Reagan is in fact innocent in all of this, what Daily Wire is actually doing to her is kind of messed up. The comment section was built around Brett. It was popularized by Brett. Replacing her, especially like this, means that the audience won't give Reagan a fair chance. And I bet you anything that this show will not grow any further than it already has, and if it does, I will be very surprised. Like I said earlier, subscribers are already falling off a cliff. I will actually say here that a company owning a show and its IP and all of this is not uncommon. That's actually very, very normal in this industry. And companies hiring somebody to come in and host that show is also very normal, very typical. None of this is abnormal. The comment section is Daily Wire property, and for those of you who weren't aware, they actually approached another content creator, a woman called Chrissy Clark, at the inception of the show to host it. I will actually link Chrissy's information in the description box. I think you guys will really like her. She's adorable. She's also trying to grow her YouTube channel, so go give her a follow. Anyway, the show then cast Brett instead.
Oh,
so while it's not abnormal at all to have a show, to have an entity that already exists, and then have a host, and then put them together and make greatness, it is weird, at least in my opinion, to assume that those two things don't become one entity, because they do. You know, you associate show with person and person with show, and they just kind of become like one and the same. So when you try to replace a host on an entity that people already know and are familiar with, it just doesn't go down so well. And to reiterate, Reagan has already been criticized for mimicking Brett's mannerisms and speech, and this speaks to the claims made earlier by Ian Carroll in his video. The reality here is that this is an industry that is built largely around personality. You can't just copy-paste a new person into an existing role and expect it to work. It very rarely does. People, especially on YouTube, repeatedly show up for the content creators that they like, and they expect to see the content creators that they like. And so I think that's why, for me, watching all of this unfold, it rubs me the wrong way. So with that said, I am going to link Brett's new YouTube channel in the description box of this video, and I hope you will all go and show her a ton of love and support, because I know that this has not been fun or easy, and maybe at one point she will be able to say something. I highly doubt it, but I think the details of this situation, should they ever come to light, will not be pleasant, and she's probably going through it right now. So go and give that small child some love because this stuff isn't easy, and it's very hard when it's all happening very publicly. As for little old me, I know that some of you are going to get very cross at me for saying all of this, because how could I? And I also know that there's an element here where, you know, people are going to be like, oh, you're just saying all this because you want to stir up drama, cause drama. And that's really not what it is. Whenever I tell you guys things or try to give you insight into the industry, it's genuinely just because I think you deserve to know. It's not because I get something out of it. I actually am very nervous uploading these kinds of videos because I hope it's obvious why. But I really think that you deserve to know who is handing information down to you, and who you're giving your money to, and who you are supporting. Yeah. Media companies across the board behave badly, and I would venture to say that it's maybe less common when they don't. They do bad things, they cover things up, they create all sorts of legal documents and legal restrictions that stop people from ever really meaningfully blowing the whistle. They hide legal situations behind arbitration where nothing is public and nothing can ever come to light. And audiences, I think, in a lot of ways, get duped by all of this. Sorry, let me say that like an American. Duped. No, that's still wrong. You get duped. What am I even doing today? And I don't think you have to look terribly far to find all sorts of great examples of exactly what I am describing to you here. Not only on the right wing, but obviously, of course, on the left as well. And when you sort of decouple yourself from the ideological constraints of this is my side, I must never criticize my side, you start to realize that there are bad faith actors and bad players and bad people everywhere. And the truth of the matter, guys, is that the reason you really don't hear a lot about this outside of all the things I described is because a lot of the people involved just want to move on with their lives. They want to put it behind them. They want to move forward as best they can. They want to be hireable because, you know, if you go scorched earth, no one wants you on their team. But also there's obviously this tremendous fear of doing or saying the wrong thing and being dragged into court. I know people personally who feel that way, and I can relate to a lot of the negative feelings surrounding this issue as well. So yes, bad things happen in this capacity all of the time. People are unable to blow the whistle. They're unable to talk about it a lot of the time. Brett Cooper was definitely done dirty in her situation, and I think that she needs a lot of love and support right now. I do hope that she bounces back and is able to do good stuff and is able to go out on her own and be successful, because that is one of the greatest things that you can do. And it's also why independent media is so importante, and you know why I love having you guys around on this channel supporting me, showing up whenever I make my psycho content, because it means that I get to just tell you stuff, or to the best of my ability, I get to tell you stuff. So I'm very appreciative of that. I have to stop doing these impersonal videos because I feel like I'm becoming one of those like other kinds of YouTubers, and I don't want that. So regular videos coming down the pipeline. I'm working on.
All right, that's enough of that one. Which one was that? Betrayed. All right, refresh. Let's pick out another one. Gross. Okay, we'll put this one up.
Magic mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest of them all?
Absolutely nobody in this entire movie.
I look at you, and I just want to be the fairest of them all.
Bro, what kind of dialogue is this? Maybe it's the way they edited it for the trailer, but good lord, even Gal Gadot with all of her beauty and elegance couldn't sell that line.
Kalel, no!
Kalel, no! Are we supposed to hate the queen? How are we supposed to be rooting for the good guy when the actual good guy who was supposed to be Snow White is the very person that everybody hates?
The queen is evil. You must flee into the woods.
I know this is just the trailer, but the delivery in that line was so horrible. I didn't believe that person one bit. It could just be the way they clipped it, ew. But in the original, even though the dude was a freaking cartoon, you could definitely feel more confliction and emotion sapping out from that two-dimensional character than you can from this three-dimensional person who comes off as though they just hired one of their interns to do this random job that nobody wanted.
I can't do it. I beg of your highness.
I don't understand.
She's mad, jealous of her. She'll stop at nothing.
But who?
The queen.
The queen?
Not Witchfire. Run. Run away. Hide. In the woods, anywhere. Never come back. Now go. 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 The queen is evil. You must flee into the woods.
Yes, sir, right away.
I hate this. I'm bored.
Hello.
My parents always said this forest was a magical place. I never want it to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have. I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats.
Every time that a celebrity gets like one DM that says KYS, they're like, I'm getting death threats! Someone save me, but not a prince!
See, this is why it's so important to market yourself well before a movie, because even though I'm aware that Rachel Zegler is acting, she's supposed to be selling me this role, and all I can see is an antagonistic narcissist who everybody hates. It feels so fake, she can't close her mouth outside of the movie and within her character. Like, dude, what is with everyone doing the Bugs Bunny pose with their mouths, thinking this is somehow attractive? It's so weird. And don't get me wrong, I even had that era when I took pictures and tried doing that, and I look back at it now and I cringe so freaking hard that my spine snaps. Jesus, it's so ridiculous, and it makes everyone look doofy and like these airheaded, trashy people strung out on meth or something. Like, yuck. Who thinks this is attractive? Like, you have a pretty face and then you try to make it look worse by making yourself look as though you lack the ability to breathe through your nose. And okay, so you want to look like a parrotfish in real life. Why would you do it as Snow White? Like, ew, I don't know. Maybe it's just my pet peeve of seeing people do that just gets me freaking annoyed. And I know it seems like I'm reading a lot into it, but Jesus, the character is so unlikable.
Hello? Is there anybody here?
Hello? Is anybody here? She sounds so awful. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm comparing it to the original, but the original woman sounds so sweet and airy. This person sounds like a freaking addict breaking into someone's house with this threatening tone.
I like it here. Ooh, it's dark inside. Guess there's no one home. Hello? What a cute little chair.
Oh my gosh, she's so freaking funny. This movie was But she only even came into this house in the original movie because the animals showed her that this is where she could stay and that whoever lived here would let her stay. Meanwhile, Rumpelstiltskin over here is like, hello, anyone here? I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your shit down. Every single one of Disney's live-action remakes is 95% CGI. So exactly what is it that makes them live-action again? The fact that they're using people? What's the point if they're only a speck of all the live action production that's actually live action? Unless there's a modern definition for live action that I don't know about. Okay, so I actually had to look it up, and the definition of live action is literally, as it pertains to filmmaking, in movies, etc., action involving real people or animals, not models or images that are drawn or produced by a computer. We also have a movie or scene in which actors and sets are used, a movie or scene that is not produced by animation. But CGI stands for computer generated image. I think we should update the definition, because if the majority of your movie is produced via CGI, then maybe it's just me, but then it shouldn't be called live action. It should be called digital hybrid film, CGI assisted film, enhanced live action, synthetic cinema, digital integration film, virtual live action, or even, I don't know, augmented live action. See, any single one of those would better describe what they're trying to pass off as live action today, because it sure as shit ain't live action. It just irks me when they continue using that term, and it almost comes off as hypocritical in much the same way that Rachel Zegler, who doesn't need no man to save her, requires a bodyguard everywhere she goes. What happened to the female bodyguards, huh? What happened to being strong and saving yourself? I don't know how big this guy is, but Rachel Zegler is as small as I am, and I am completely aware that I'm at a disadvantage when it comes to most people in general, not even just freaking dudes. You would never catch me opening up my mouth and claiming I don't need no man to keep me safe and protect me in a world where other men might want to hurt me. That doesn't make any freaking sense. It's always celebrities out there trying to tell everybody else what they need and what they don't need, while they themselves are living the complete opposite life of what they're preaching. Just like Beyonce talking about all the single ladies and all the other celebrities talking about how they're chasing the bag and no need no man, yet people like them are in their mansions with their husband and family and kids in their millions. Meanwhile, their husband makes way more than them, but they're still telling you that you don't need no man and that you're good all by yourself. Yeah, okay. I don't know if it's just me, but the minute I saw these things, the faces, I wanted to drop kick them into oblivion. You know when you see certain things and they're just so freaking uncanny to the point where it elicits this primal rage within you that is just so irrational, and you feel as though something is remotely activating you to go all aggro on whatever this is? Looks like a freaking hate fleshlight. Like if you hated something so much that you just... Never mind. It's freaking things, man. It's like the quintessential code activation for human beings to start forming fists and thrusting their knuckles into other people's faces. Because that's exactly the reaction that I got from this goddamn thing. This is what you chose to represent the dwarves? Not actual dwarves, once again. You know, especially given that this is a live action, when we have actual real dwarves that exist who could have played this role and who barely get roles in Hollywood to begin with, but so much for inclusivity, right? You see where inclusivity actually matters? They pretend like it doesn't exist or something, or that it's not necessary. But they're busy out here fighting battles that they already won. Like, these battles have been won a long time ago. While the ones that actually need to be fought, they sweep under the rug and pretend it doesn't exist. Like, I honestly can't think of a bigger insult than knowing that there is a little people community talking about how inoffensive they want to be, and then making CGI versions of all 7 of these characters who could have been played by 7 actual real-life dwarves that I'm sure would have been really appreciative of the role that Tyrion Lannister has taken away from them.
I was a little taken back by the they're very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White.
Yeah.
But you're still telling the story of Snow White.
Yeah.
7 dwarves.
Sure.
So, look, take a step back and look at what you're doing there.
Yeah.
I know. That makes no sense to me.
Well,
you're progressive in one way, but you're still making that backward story of 7 dwarves living in a cave. What the are you doing, man?
I like how people are outraged and they don't even know what they're talking about, because as we can see, they're echoing Peter Dinklage's very obvious ignorance, who hasn't seen the actual freaking movie, because the dwarves lived in a very pretty, fantastical cottage. They worked their asses off every single day and come home to their nice house. They didn't have time to freaking clean it because they're busy working. But look how pretty this cottage is. That is not a cave. So what are you even talking about, you fucking idiots? And then on top of that, you make them look absolutely nightmarish. Like, what is actually wrong with you? What made you think this was supposed to make it into the final product? Look at these things. I like how they're all screaming as though they've just seen themselves in the mirror of truth, because that's the exact reaction I imagined everybody would have, seeing them. Wait.
It's a human.
You know, when I was a kid, did not like uncanny faces, and I guarantee you these things would have given me nightmares. I probably would have come up with some kind of imaginary situation to befriend them, because I would have thought they were demons. When something is that ugly to the point where it's so monstrous that you know it will give you nightmares or think that it'll eat you, my little brain would have tried to befriend it, because I wouldn't want it to eat me, and that's what these dwarfs feel like they want to do. Look at them. Like, good night. Ugh. Bro, what is even your face? Have you seen yourself? How is this not offensive? It's giving minstrel.
It's a human.
What did you think I was?
Nothing. Ghost. I don't know, Rachel, but their reaction to you being absolutely terrified of your presence makes sense when you consider what a monstrous person you are. That at least is true to form.
I'm a narcissist. The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Okay.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. And then it became like, I will elbow everyone out of the way to play the part. That people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie, Andrew Burnap. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. I say, if I'm gonna stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online. And we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
It would be so funny if they actually had a twist in this movie that revealed at the very end, when Snow White wins against the queen, that she had been the evil queen all along. You know, she like throws off her innocent demeanor and her clothes, and to reveal that she's some kind of shadow witch or something. You see, I could appreciate that, because then she embodies the role in real life, and then everything would have made sense.
The queen stole everything from all of us.
Did she now? So she enlists the dwarves to help her? Good job giving away the entire movie in the trailer. Not that I care, because I don't want to watch it anyway. And even if I do, it's going to be solely as a cathartic means out of morbid curiosity to wonder how bad it actually is. Don't worry, I'll do it for free.
I'm gonna need your help.
You know, as ugly as the freaking dwarves are, for some reason, I care more about these these things, than I do about her character. As a matter of fact, that's a lie. I don't care about her character at all. I hope it dies.
This is our king.
This feels like a completely different movie, and I guess that's what they were going for, but Snow White is so unlikable and so far removed from the innocent Snow White that we see in the original movie. And I'm wondering why they had to stray so far from that. What is wrong with innocence? And what is actually wrong with the original Snow White? She was pure and innocent. This version of Snow White does not feel that way at all. And I'm not just talking about the actor. I'm talking about the portrayal of the character that we see in the trailer thus far. And I know I'm gonna have those people saying, you haven't seen the movie yet, so you can't judge it. You're right, but I can judge the trailer, can I not? Stop being stupid, and let's not pretend as though freaking trailers aren't giving the entire backstory and plot and beat by beat of the movie in their trailers anyway. Try to act slick. If you've watched the original cartoon Snow White, which I urge you to, you'll notice that Snow White's character is as sweet as pie, kind to everyone, even the woodland creatures, and somehow managed to be naive without being annoying. She didn't just sing to all the birds and the animals. She radiated wholesome sunshine.
I don't understand.
She's mad, jealous. She'll stop at nothing.
But who?
The Queen.
Queen.
Up, child. Run. Run away. Hide. In the woods, anywhere. Never come back.
I miss you. I miss you. For the one I love. I'm awfully sorry. I didn't mean to frighten you. But you don't know what I've been through. And all because I was afraid. I'm so ashamed of the fuss I've made.
She has this unshakable goodness that makes you root for her. She was so pure and sweet, and you never wanted anything to happen to her. She always puts people before herself, and she always wants to do for others.
Don't let nobody or nothing in the house.
Why, Grumpy, you do care.
She's just kindness and sweetness. It's everything good about a human being all balled up into one person. Rachel Zegler's Snow White feels like someone took the original's purity, crumpled it up, and replaced it with this snobby, narcissistic, self-absorbed influencer main character energy type fakeness. She doesn't seem to have any warmth or relatability, just a smugness that makes you want to roll your eyes and wonder why you're supposed to root for her.
It's a human.
What did you think I was?
God, the trailer looks so freaking awful, and Snow White looks awful. The only thing in this entire trailer that I can say without a shadow of a doubt actually looks decent is Gal Gadot as the Queen. I'm actually rooting for her for some reason. I actually half expected Snow White to come out as some evil bitch because she has a snobby look, and I really do think she was miscast for this now that I'm looking at it. And I remember when this was first announced, right? When the pictures that I saw, I thought that Rachel Zegler could pass for Snow White if they put makeup on her and she's not doing that stupid duck face, or as I call it, the meth addict face. So yeah, they can put some makeup on her, style her hair, and really try to pass her for Snow White. But oh no.
No.
Her character looks like cat piss, and this movie is an entire bold move in the direction of a sinkhole to hell. I don't know, but I can kind of feel the soullessness and the nervousness and anxiety coming off the trailer. Maybe they decided to put this out because they already put so much money into it and they gotta recoup everything, which they're probably not going to. But I guess this is another notch in the belt for one of those ideas that should have just stayed on the shelf. I'm telling you, studios are gonna start welcoming AI, especially when they see consumers like us starting to make movies in our bedrooms that are better than what Hollywood comes out with, and AI is giving everyone the accessibility to do that without the ballooning budgets that obviously are not going anywhere, but in the pockets of people that seem to be doing the bare minimum when it comes to story writing and movie making.
Wow, that got loud as shit all of a sudden. Well, I shared this one. Well, let's share it anyway. Post. I mean, for the most part, I don't get those other ones that pop up. Jeez. That was the first one, right? Opening new tab.
All right, guys, unbelievably, this is the last episode of the year. I'm just doing it from my laptop. It feels super organic, sort of back where we began. So many things to discuss, so many things happening. First and foremost, I don't know if you guys have caught this. Somebody legitimately tried to murder Nick Fuentes last night. Totally insane, and it's really a sad story. The suspect is dead, but they killed 3 other people in the process, plus 2 dogs. We're going to speak about that, talk about doxing. On top of that, Andrew Tate, the case has been dismissed in Romania, which was something that I was signaling was going to happen for a very long time. Piers Morgan and me just did an interview, and it is going absolutely viral. I'm really proud of it as something that I am doing at the very end of the year. It feels like the right interview to share with the world, so we'll discuss that. But first, we absolutely must discuss the comment section at the Daily Wire, because honestly, what was the Daily Wire thinking? This is crazy. They premiered Brett Cooper clone, and it's going about just as you would imagine, meaning it has been an abject failure. Let's discuss all of that coming up right now on Candace. So first, let's just recap everything that happened. It's been a very long 10 days. 10 days ago, Brett Cooper announced in a somewhat emotionally strained video, I think that's putting it lightly, that she was leaving the Daily Wire. It was actually her and the CEO of a Daily Wire, Jeremy Boring, in this combo video. Let's just reflect on that. Take a listen.
Hey guys, some of you have heard the rumors online, and the rumors are mostly true. Today, December 10th, will be my last day hosting the comment section and working for the Daily Wire. It is not true that I am being forced out. It was my own choice to leave. And believe me, this is bittersweet. And now for some final thoughts from the God King himself, Jeremy Boring.
Bittersweet indeed. We're sad to see Brett go, but we're excited to see her take the next step in her journey. Brett's an amazing talent, both as a personality and as an actress. It's been a pleasure to see her bring the comment section to life these last 3 years, and her performance in the Pendragon cycle is sensational. I'm certain that whatever Brett creates next will be filled with the same joy and laughter and heart that she's brought to all of her work at the Daily Wire. And we wish her nothing but the best.
So yes, it very much read like an ISIS beheading video. It seemed like they were being held hostage potentially by their lawyers. But as far as splits go, it was handled professionally. But then there was a ton of innuendo. And I should say, by the way, this innuendo was leading up to the moment of the split. People were suggesting that actually Brett Cooper had gotten knifed by her best friend and maid of honor, which, by the way, fact-checked true. It was indeed her maid of honor that was announced to be taking over the comment section, a young woman named Reagan Conrad. And the internet was very upset about this, but there was no confirmation that came from Brett per se until after her announcement. Then the internet started interneting and recognizing some things. First and foremost, they recognized that Brett Cooper unfollowed Reagan. Okay, that is a major sign. Obviously, this woman was in her wedding in April. Now, all of a sudden, Brett Cooper has completely unfollowed her. That kind of signaled that a little more went on behind the scenes. On top of that, Brett Cooper also unfollowed the Daily Wire, and she unfollowed Jeremy Boring. So, yeah, like I said, some blood in the water. But then the ultimate confirmation came, the mother of all bombs. And when I say mother, I mean the mother of Brett Cooper. Some internet sleuths had noticed that Brett Cooper's mom, a woman named Diane Cooper, was liking some interesting posts. And I'm going to read you which post it was that she liked on Instagram. It was a comment that was being directed to Reagan. It reads, "No matter how many acting classes you take or watch Brett's old videos, you will never be Brett. It's sad that you took the money and snubbed your best friend. I hope the amount of money DW offered was worth your friendship with Brett. You lost a good one." So yeah, a little bit of drama went down. Moms don't hold back at all on the internet. And if this is how it went down, obviously you could imagine your mom, it's the big day, your daughter's getting married, she's next to her best friend, someone you think is her best friend, Reagan, whatever, walking down the aisle next to her, and then all of a sudden, just completely stabbed in the back. Completely crazy. But it turned out that really, if you think about it, didn't really matter whether or not it happened if everyone was going to move on from it until, okay, like I said, friendships end, they fall apart, women are awful. You listen to my podcast, I say all the time, women are awful. I've seen women do so many awful things. But what happened next was something that I think none of us were actually thinking was real. I thought that it was internet conspiracy. It was so shocking because the internet very strongly signaled, whatever you do, Daily Wire, don't do this, right? Don't try to have this young woman, Reagan, pretend to be Brett, because that would be very weird, obviously. You cannot train somebody to be somebody else and think that the public is not going to notice this. And like I said, I thought it was a conspiracy. I said there's absolutely no way that management is going to roll out Brett Cooper clone. If they're going to do the show with Reagan, they're going to build a different show around her that features her personality and not Brett's. And like I said, there were so many people on the internet signaling to them, don't do this. It's super creepy. Here is just one example of that. This YouTuber is called Decoy Voice, and he really spells it out. Take a listen.
I was talking to a girl with the family I was staying with before. She's like an 18-year-old chick that loves Brett Cooper. She's a total super fan. And she was like, yeah, The Reagan episodes are kind of weird.
Welcome back to the comment section. So obviously, I talk Harbrand into a whole new stratosphere of woke confusion. I'm concerned about feminism, I'm concerned about the growing gender divide. But before we get into today's episode, make sure you like this video. Before we dive into this episode though, make sure that you like this video if you have not already. If you have not already.
As I understand, two best friends are going to have similar mannerisms, but you can't convince me this isn't done entirely on purpose, as this just looks like when two people pick the same character in Street Fighter, where they have all the same moves with a different color scheme.
I should also offer here that the title of that video is "This Show is Creepy Now." As I said, it was explicit, video after video, millions of views on all of these videos, and the comment section of all of these videos agreeing, just being like, no, they cannot produce a clone. They got to give this girl her own show. But for whatever reason, Daily Wire ignored all of those signs, and they very quickly, I feel like in 48 hours, turned around the comment section and just gave us like Brett Cooper, but not 2.0. In fact, the internet kept calling her a Temu Brett, essentially saying that this was like the Chinese knockoff version of Brett Cooper. They did not regroup. They did not rebrand the show. They even kept the girl wearing headphones, kind of like the same dorm setting, which was kind of strange because Brett Cooper, of course, is just 22. She began the show when she was 18. So this sort of like college vibe and the headphones made sense. Reagan's 29 years old. This is an adult woman, and she's kind of cosplaying a teenager in a dorm room. Super awkward, and we can say it was an abject failure. I mean, let's just go through some of these numbers, okay? So this has been 10 days. In 10 days, the comment section has lost 200,000 subscribers, okay? So when Brett Cooper made her announcement, the channel had 4.51 million subscribers. Today, it just keeps going down every time this Reagan girl posts. It's at 4.29 million subscribers. I'm just showing you guys this quick snapshot that I took of the channel. So this girl has produced 2 videos. This one, which is about the Duke lacrosse scandal, has been up for just under 2 days. Could not crack 100,000 views. She's got 71,000 views. The video behind it, even more abysmal, 42,000 views. So you imagine if it is true that she snaked her best friend and just took her 4.5 million subscribers, and she can't even get 100,000 of them to watch her video. And it's a small video. These are like 7-minute clips. These usually play very well because people have YouTube brain and they're not able to actually follow anything longer than 7 minutes. And the internet is saying absolutely not. I mean, it has gotten so bad that Benny Johnson, who is a friend to sort of everyone, actually did a video on the comment section of the comment section because he couldn't believe how much of a failure that it had been. And that video that Benny Johnson made is almost at 1 million views. Comments are exceptional, but again, all saying the exact same thing. This guy, Frank, writes, Brett Cooper is the comment section. That is horrible. This girl, Fiona, writes, yeah, I unsubscribed from the comment section. I'm not going to watch a chick being absolutely inauthentic, copying her friend who used to be in that show. The imitation is cringe. Dylan Smith writes, if I had to guess, Reagan offered to, quote unquote, be Brett Cooper for less money. If this is the case, then the Daily Wire may learn a hard truth that people and personalities aren't always replaceable. And that's a great thing to think about. Like, actually, why is this failing? How did it fail so hard? And I think the easy answer is we are in a market right now where the social economy is authenticity. You have to be authentic in whatever it is that you are bringing to the market, especially when it comes to Gen Zers. They sniff that stuff out faster than anybody else. They are the internet culture. And I think the second piece of that is America doesn't like a coronation. What was really shocking to me when I realized they were actually doing this, and this wasn't like internet innuendo, but like actually they were just going to replicate Brett Cooper, was we just went through an entire election cycle where Kamala Harris was just coronated. They just were like, hey, we're going to make Kamala Harris, and you have to just like Kamala Harris. And it's because Beyonce and Taylor Swift endorse her, and they say that that's good. And we forcefully rejected that. We said, no, actually, you cannot just coronate Kamala Harris. People have to actually run and earn their spot. And Trump has been running, it seems, for the last 4 years. And you're just going to give Kamala Harris 107 days and a couple of celebrity endorsements and just force feed her to us. I would think the Daily Wire would have seen that lesson, that it doesn't really work like that, and would have said, okay, we can't do that. If we think Reagan's this amazing talent, she's going to have to actually earn her keep. She can't just be coronated. And I think this person's comment perfectly encapsulates that. This is at Little Miss Stamper, and she is again commenting under the Benny Johnson video. She wrote, "There's just something gross about sitting in a spot that you didn't earn, talking to an audience that you didn't earn on a show that you didn't build, not to mention she was your friend." That's it. Like, totally. The internet is essentially saying she didn't earn these 4.65 million subscribers. So, yes, does the Daily Wire own the channel? Yes. Can the Daily Wire basically say, we're forcing our Kamala Harris and you guys are all going to love her? Sure. But the market is going to respond to that. The market has responded to that, and the market is telling them no. So the question now is, what was Daily Wire thinking? This was a piece that I couldn't wrap my head around. I genuinely am so shocked by this decision, given everyone, again, on the internet saying, please don't. We were just watching a car crash in slow motion. I was going, no, is there anything we can do to stop this? And the answer was no. The management said, we're doing it anyways. And I thought to myself, was it maybe advertiser agreements? Was it they had to have a show every day and maybe some advertisers would have pulled out? Was it being motivated? I don't think likely. They could have easily taken a pause. It's the end of the year. They should have. If I was advising, I would have been like, take a full pause. It's Christmas. It's holiday time. No one's going to think, let's come back in the new year with something fresh. They didn't do that. And I don't think it was advertising dollars that was influencing it. Somebody said to me, maybe it was just continuity. They were thinking as long as they just had a show the next day, people would be used to listening to Brett Cooper and would just be back. Maybe, but again, not what I took away from this. What I really think it came down to is the Daily Wire is run by people who were formerly in theater, right? So you have Jeremy Boring, the company's called Bent Key. The reason it's called Bent Key is because he wears a bent key around his neck. And that key, he once wrote in a Daily Wire piece, was the key from the playhouse that he used to work at. He was an aspiring actor. He talks about how he failed in Hollywood. And so his background is in theater. And recently, Ben Shapiro went viral because he gave this review of Wicked that was very professional, talking about people singing in their head voice, and the internet was amazed that he was so up to date, I guess, on just theater stuff. And I think what you have are a lot of people, their background is in theater, and they thought through this equation like theater kids. They were just like, we need an understudy. Reagan knows the part. Reagan knows how to do this. Reagan's been the producer. Reagan, Brett's leaving. Can you just be Brett? And it was just an accidental miss. Genuinely just totally did not read the room right, does not realize that podcasting is not the same as theater. You really can't do that. They're not looking for an understudy. They're looking for a real person. And they have to believe that that person is genuine, and they have to believe that that person is authentic. And in that way, I think they very much set up Reagan to fail. But also Reagan set herself up to fail, because if somebody came to me and said, just be your best friend, I'd be like, no. I love this opportunity. This is amazing, but I'm going to have to be myself and figure out who that is and if it's enough. And I think given all the toxicity there, it's strange that they went with Reagan. I think it was super easy for them to just find someone else on TikTok, somebody else with their own personality that's getting tons of views, who has the it factor. And that is what I want to say conclusively. You know, Brett Cooper has the it factor. Nobody really knows what the it factor is, but you know when you see it. And I remember the first time I saw a Brett Cooper video, actually, she was working at the Daily Wire, and I had no idea she was working at Daily Wire. And my husband kept saying, do you know this girl, Brett Cooper, that works there? And I'm like, no, I've never seen her. And he showed me her video, and the first time I saw it, I said, this girl just has the it factor. Just didn't feel that way when you watch Reagan perform. It's like, okay, this isn't the it factor. This feels like the forced it factor. This feels like the friend of the it factor. I just don't see how this is going to be a successful plan. They should have just regrouped, gone under. If I'm giving them advice today, shut it down fast. When the market tells you no, you're not going to be able to ever force the markets. And this is a pretty resounding no. And lastly, what I will say is the lesson in all of this is actually something that I learned from Matt Walsh. He always says, just because you can doesn't mean you should. It's a great little life tidbit. Like, you absolutely can. You own this channel. You can just find a friend of and put them up there and say, so what, deal with it. but you shouldn't. You shouldn't, because you should know that people are not going to respond well to that. And just because you contractually, legally, and from a business perspective can, doesn't mean that that's ultimately going to be good for you and your company. So that is the lesson in all of this. The comment section, I would say, is officially over. All right, guys, this episode is sponsored by Good Ranchers. During Good Ranchers holiday special, you can subscribe to any box and you'll get a gift of chicken breasts, salmon, bacon, or ground beef for a year, plus an additional $25 off with my code Candace. By shopping at Good Ranchers, you are directly supporting local farms and ranchers in the United States. Good Ranchers delivers high-quality, 100% American meat straight to your door. Good Ranchers also has a new gifting page this year.
I've had enough of that one. Open a new tab. I don't know about anybody else, but this is how
your version of Snow White is different, and it's more of a 2022 version.
Snow White has to learn a lot of lessons about coming into her own power before she can come into power over a kingdom.
There's no denying it. Recent years have been riddled with box office flops for the Walt Disney Company under CEO Bob Iger, but what's brewing for 2025 is set to take things to a whole new level. All eyes are on the live-action Snow White remake and the chaos surrounding its press tour. Especially with Rachel Zegler, the so-called star of the film, stirring up even more drama. Rachel Zegler has been making headlines for all the wrong reasons, launching into multiple rants about the backlash this movie has been facing. The outrage centers on what many see as an over-the-top push for DEI initiatives and a heavy-handed agenda driven by Disney's leadership, including Iger, studio executives, and everyone tied to this project.
Anything that has to do with technology creating opportunity for us, I find very enjoyable.
Critics claim this movie isn't just a retelling of Snow White, it's Disney's ideology wrapped in a fairy tale. And Zegler, she's added fuel to the fire with her latest tirade, blasting the public for rejecting the film outright, with some audiences even vowing to boycott it altogether. And the fallout doesn't end there. It's clear that even die-hard Disney fans are steering clear of Snow White 2025. So let's dive right in. One thing about Rachel Zegler, she just doesn't seem to know when to stop, stay silent, or, let's be honest, keep her opinions to herself.
Extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power.
And let's not forget her less than stellar track record at the box office. We've seen the disasters before. Remember Y2K? And let's not overlook other films she's been involved in, whether as the leading actress or in a supporting role. But here's the kicker, Snow White is already shaping up to be the biggest box office failure in Disney's history. Yes, you read that right. The Walt Disney Company is already in freefall, thanks to the marketing debacle for Snow White and the overwhelming backlash against Zegler herself. And now, things just escalated even further. Rachel Zegler has fired back at the public once again in response to the growing outrage. Here's what she had to say. What really offends me is that this is a film fit for the modern woman that aims to inspire so many women in our country to stand up like a warrior, and that's what Snow White is all about in this one. We wanted to go with a different approach, with not only her backstory, but why she is called Snow White. And there seems to be a large amount of both men and women that just don't understand basic common sense of what it means to be a true woman, especially in this film. Because in this film, the way we tell this story, it's not just a fictional tale. It is a lesson to how women should act in certain situations against society that they find themselves captured in. This is not your traditional Snow White film from 1937. We had to go with a new approach that was both balanced and fair and especially respected diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because to me, that is the most important thing in the world. I think I wrongfully get criticism for defending that because everyone likes to claim that this film holds some kind of an agenda from me or from Disney, and that is nothing more than a big fat lie. Coming from false narratives of a loud minority of critics that want to destroy the fun for others. This is a film that I think is only for women in spirit. But I'm seeing all of these families boycotting this great piece of art. And it's so childish to act like that, and to act that way before you even know what this movie is about. This is why I find it to be very important that we get the word out there on what it means to be a woman. A courageous woman who is willing to stand up and fight for society. DEI is not an agenda. I don't care what anyone out there says. If you claim that's an ideology of any kind, then I think you need to really look in the mirror to figure out what of course, and how this actual world works. Because diversity, equity, and inclusion is a normal concept, 'tis a basic function to create fairness and balance, and to provide opportunities to everyone and all that want to be a part of a project for something like Snow White, as an example, that is just so embedded in pop culture. Before we get into Rachel Zegler's latest outburst, let's talk about one of her boldest claims. She's insisting that DEI isn't an agenda. Yes, you heard that right. Now, let's be real. That statement couldn't be further from the truth. While she's busy calling others liars, her own words seem far from honest. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI initiatives, aren't just limited to Disney. They're deeply embedded in Hollywood studios, major organizations, and corporations everywhere. These programs have been widely criticized as a vehicle for pushing specific ideologies into workplaces and industries. And this isn't new. It's been happening for over a decade. But in the last 3 years, it's reached an entirely new level of visibility and controversy. Rachel Zegler, on the other hand, seems to be in full damage control mode, doubling down on her stance while brushing off the growing backlash. But her claims are only adding fuel to the fire. Rachel Zegler is doing everything she can to defend this movie, even though it's clear no one's lining up to watch it. Sure, a handful of people might support this mess, but let's be honest. Anyone thinking critically isn't wasting their time on Zegler or giving Disney a dime of their hard-earned money. This isn't just about a bad movie, it's about Snow White completely disrespecting not only the beloved 1937 Disney classic, but also the original Brothers Grimm tale that started it all. Rachel Zegler has made it abundantly clear that she doesn't even respect the fans and families who want no part in movies like this. Here's the thing, people have the right to make their own decisions. They don't have to watch a movie if it looks awful, plain and simple. That's just how it works. But Zegler, she doesn't seem to understand that. Instead, she points fingers at the audience, claiming they don't get it, while completely missing the point herself. And it doesn't stop there. Let's continue and take a closer look at what she said next. We are just seeing a mixture of a lot of angry families and men that have no clue what they are even talking about when it boils down to the story of Snow White. This is a story that will go down in history and will be an instant classic. I can almost guarantee many of the critics will line up to see me and would have instantly changed their rhetoric about a film like this that sets up the character in a new fashion. One thing that really stands out about Rachel Zegler is the way she talks about herself. She's made comments like, "When people come to see me," or "critics will give their time to see me," as if the entire world revolves around her. Statements like these reveal just how egotistical and self-absorbed she is. It's like she's completely wrapped up in her own bubble. And honestly, it's insufferable. What's even more shocking is that Disney seems to be letting her run wild with this behavior. They're just standing by as she says whatever she wants about this film. At this point, it feels like Disney has completely given up. It's almost as if they've accepted defeat, telling her, "All right, Rachel, the leash is off. Do whatever you want because this movie's already a lost cause." And let's be real. Disney knows it, the audience knows it, and deep down, Rachel probably knows it too. This project was doomed from the start, and her unchecked arrogance is only making the situation worse. But wait, it gets even more unbelievable. Rachel Zegler is clearly getting bitter, and it shows in the way she's acting. But let's be honest, this isn't new for her. She's always had this attitude, even before her streak of box office flops became impossible to ignore. At the end of the day, this could be a major turning point for Disney. Snow White might just be the film that finally forces executives to rethink their strategy. Could this be the wake-up call they need to hit the brakes on these live-action remakes of animated classics, especially when they're so focused on pushing diversity, equity, and inclusion at the forefront? Only time will tell. What do you think about Rachel Zegler's behavior and the massive backlash surrounding Snow White? Share your thoughts below. And make sure to subscribe for more on the latest celebrity news and all the behind-the-scenes drama. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.
Well, okay, so I've been zoning out. Like, I've stopped listening because I've been listening to this stuff for days now. Gosh.
just been the honor of a lifetime. I think any young person, any little girl, you get to put on a Disney princess dress.
If I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
It's just been the most amazing experience.
Weird.
Hey guys, Nerion here. A couple of days ago the trailer for Disney's live-action Snow White remake finally released. Although saying finally sounds kinda wrong, cause it doesn't seem like anyone's excited for this. Most people just wanna see how bad it is, cause the backlash has been going on for years now. I don't think I've ever seen a movie that was already so hated before it even released a single trailer. But now a trailer released, and with it came a bunch of new drama. We're gonna cover the trailer and the massive backlash it revived. Also, Rachel Zegler returning and immediately creating new outrage by stirring up dangerous conflict between herself, her co-star Gal Gadot, and millions of people online. And how she and the Snow White movie have gotten Disney into a disastrous situation. So let's get into it. Snow White was originally supposed to release almost half a year ago, in March of 2024, but in October of last year, Disney announced a huge one-year delay to March of 2025. They claimed that was due to the SAG-AFTRA strike, but that was most likely a lie, especially because for such a reason, a one-year delay sounds pretty extreme. It rather seems like they needed more time to change large parts of the movie, after, for example, the extreme backlash those leaked set photos of the 7 dwarfs received, where Disney not only race and gender swapped them, but also refused to cast actors with dwarfism for the roles, cause they considered that to be too problematic for some weird reason, who knows. So Disney needed a lot of time to refilm a lot of scenes and replace the actors with CGI dwarfs, which are the ones now featured in the trailer. Once again, instead of simply casting actual actors with dwarfism for the roles, like many other movies in the past have done. I don't understand where their problem lies. It's not problematic to use dwarf actors to play the roles of dwarfs, Disney. Such people exist. It's a medical condition, and those people want jobs too. Do you have any idea how hard it is for them to get a job in the acting industry? Not many movies out there require such actors. And now, where there's this perfect opportunity with a movie about 7 dwarfs, Disney takes it away from them. Which is a loss to both, the actors and Disney themselves, cause they now needed to spend a lot more time and money for those awful looking CGI dwarfs. And they do look awful. Their movements look so clunky and unnatural, especially visible in those scenes where they're dancing next to Snow White. They probably rushed the production on them. So many problems that could have been avoided with real actors. Those reshoots and having to animate them cost Disney a ton of time and money. Months ago, reports estimated the budget of the movie to be just over 200 million, which would already be a lot. Yet now there are reports that the budget has skyrocketed to $330 million, most likely due to the delay and the extra work they now had to put in. 330 million for a Snow White movie is insane. Who knows if it ends up being even higher than that, but this would already make it the 10th most expensive movie in history. If this was an MCU movie, it would be the 4th most expensive one. Snow White is slightly more expensive than Avengers Infinity War. That's insane. Disney's insane. Although that's nothing new. With the hundreds of millions in marketing costs that will come on top of that, and with theaters getting about half of the money movies make at the box office, the general rule for big movies is that they have to make around 2.5 or 3 times their production costs just to break even. So this movie would have to probably make around 900 million, maybe even $1 billion, just to make its costs back. And I don't even think that Disney honestly believes that it will manage to do it. The trailer was ratioed into oblivion. It's not the one with the most dislikes yet, but granted, it also doesn't have as many views as many other trailers, at least as of yet. But it's the most ratioed trailer that Disney has ever released. At the time of me writing this, it's setting at 7 million views with 70,000 likes, in contrast to 880,000 dislikes. That means around 1 like for every 12 dislikes. That's really bad. With a horrible reception like that, there's no way to be optimistic about its performance. It's most likely going to lose Disney hundreds of millions of dollars, on top of massive damage to their reputation. Although that was already done, in most part by Rachel Zegler, the main star of the movie, playing the princess that's known for having skin as white as snow. I'm really wondering how Disney thought that she, out of all actresses out there, would be the perfect person to play Snow White. It certainly wasn't her appearance, unless Disney is blind. So maybe Disney didn't cast based on looks, but based on character instead. Maybe it was more important to them to cast a person that resembled Snow White's sweet and kind and humble personality. But even if that was the case, Rachel Zegler is arguably the actress that would be least deserving of the role. She's not known for being particularly sweet or kind or humble, more like the total opposite.
Say, if I'm gonna stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
That was her talking about what an amazing honor it is for her to be able to play this iconic princess. She's insanely narcissistic. She's already getting paid $1 million or more for this movie, which was quite generous of Disney, considering that when they cast her years ago, she was much less of a name in the industry than she is now. And even now, she's not that big of a star either, cause every movie she starred in either flopped or underperformed expectations. On top of that, just for example, Andrew Garfield was a bigger name than her when the first Amazing Spider-Man movie released, and he arguably had a much harder role to play, and yet he didn't even get half her pay. He only got $500,000 for his first Spidey movie, and yet was more than happy and kept playing the character even beyond that movie. So for her to have the audacity to turn against Disney and protest in front of cameras to be paid for every hour the movie is streamed online is disrespectful and insanely idiotic as well. She agreed to her pay years ago. It was a really good paycheck too, and now she's demanding something that's unheard of in the industry, to be paid for every minute watched. That's just delusion at this point. So I don't understand why Disney decided to cast Rachel Zegler. She's not even a fan of Snow White. On the contrary, when listening to her disastrous interviews, it rather comes across as if she couldn't stand the elements of the classic movie at all.
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
So no Prince or a different kind of Prince?
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. Right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. Yeah. It's one of those things that I think everyone's going to have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be, but it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
It's Hollywood, baby. Who cares if all the scenes of her co-star Andrew Burnap get cut out, right? Clearly not her, being the nice person she is. The prince isn't needed anyways for this new, modern version of Snow White. According to Zegler, he was just a creepy guy that stalked Snow White in the outdated original. I guess we're just gonna ignore the fact that he was in love with her and saved her life in the movie. No, he was just some guy who stalked her. Cause concepts like men saving women out of love are seen as totally outdated nowadays.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true.
So she's not gonna be dreaming about true love in the movie, but will instead be focused on becoming a strong, independent leader. Totally sounds like something Snow White would do. But from Disney's recent D23 showcase, where they showed the trailer, we actually got a look at the scene from the movie as well. And it perfectly encapsulates everything wrong with the remake that Disney designed for modern audiences. Here's a little side-by-side comparison of the scene in the classic and the one in the remake.
Now you wash the dishes.
Now you wash the dishes.
You tidy up the room.
You tidy up the room.
You clean the fireplace.
You clean those cobwebs.
And I'll use the broom.
And he'll use the broom.
In the original movie, Snow White was led to the house because she needed a place to stay. But the reason she cleaned the house was because she thought orphan children lived there and she felt bad that they didn't have a mother. So she decided to clean the house to surprise them, with the help of her little animal friends. Meanwhile, in the new Zegler version, they took this out and had Snow White bossing around the dwarfs to clean up their own house, without her even helping. Taking away this motherly aspect of her character and replacing it with this bossy attitude of a leader. Basically what Zegler already described the movie to be. In the old movie, she hoped that if she cleaned the house, maybe the owners would let her stay. Meanwhile, in the new version, she came in as an intruder into their home and started commanding the dwarfs to do all the work. They take her into their home, offer her protection and food and everything else she needs, and in return, she forces them to do even more work for her. Why would they even let her stay in the new movie if she's not paying the rent by cooking and cleaning? What purpose does she serve? None. It's just that Disney can't have a woman in modern day doing any kind of domestic chores, even if it's just a temporary response to a very specific situation. This is the point at which identity politics, storytelling, and simple common sense all come into conflict with each other, and the latter two are sacrificed in favor of the former. But common sense isn't something we can expect from this movie when the main conflict arises out of the premise that the evil queen, who's played by Gal Gadot, is somehow supposed to be jealous of Snow White's beauty. One of the best comments I've seen recently had Snow White saying, "I don't need a man," to which the prince replied, "That's fine, I'm here for your stepmom." Like for real though, this is the first time that the magic mirror straight up lied. This movie has enough problems as it is, with its inaccuracies to the source material, its garbage premise, the drama around the casting of the characters, and an extended dwarfs, and all of Rachel Zegler's disastrous interviews, where she not only made herself extremely unlikable, but also destroyed this movie's chances of success unlike anything else Disney screwed up. And now that the movie's marketing tour officially restarted with the release of the trailer, Rachel Zegler has to start promoting the movie again after keeping quiet for months. And who would have thought she has already managed to cause massive drama once again, and completely unnecessarily too. After the trailer released, Zegler once again caused an uproar online by bringing up the Gaza conflict out of nowhere and making a pro-Palestine statement. And this even though being fully aware that her co-star Gal Gadot is from Israel and thus supports the other side. And when I say she brought up the conflict out of nowhere, I really mean it. She first posted a tweet thanking everyone for the 120 million views the trailer reached in its first 24 hours. Now that's perfectly fine, just an actress thanking the fans. That's generally a good thing. But then, out of nowhere, she followed it up with a statement on the Gaza war, saying, "And always remember, free Palestine." I mean, it literally came out of nowhere. What a change of topics. And this of course despite her co-star Gal Gadot being of Israeli origin and having the exact opposite opinion of Zegler. But the difference between them is that Gal Gadot is directly impacted by the conflict and has her home and her family involved in the situation. So whatever your opinions may be on this conflict, it is understandable for Gal Gadot to be emotionally charged about this whole situation. Meanwhile, Rachel Zegler is from the US, and while she does have the right to be vocal about anything she wants, I guess, it will inevitably cause some pretty harsh tension between them. Especially since Rachel decided to mention the situation in her very promotion of the movie. And both of them are soon expected to meet up in interviews and go on press tours together to promote the movie. And I don't know how that's supposed to go well, and how Disney will try to make it look like the actors have this great chemistry and as if it's a really family-friendly environment when there's clearly this tension between the two main actresses. So as if the movie situation wasn't already bad enough, Rachel Zegler will always find ways to make it even worse. This is what self-destruction looks like. And if Disney wanted to turn around public opinion with the trailer for this movie, then I don't think it accomplished its mission. In fact, it's just further proof that they should have just cancelled the movie instead of spending extra time, work and money on reworking it. They could still do their shareholders and all of us a favor and rather Batgirl this movie out of existence than to have another The Marvels-like disaster. I promise them, the movie would not be missed. But what do you think? Are you interested in seeing the movie or not? And what are your thoughts on the changes they made and Rachel Zegler's lovely statements? Tell me in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video and want to support me and get the message out there, please make sure to like the video, to share it, and to subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate any kind of support. So make sure to subscribe and follow me on Twitter for updates as well. You'll find me under Nerion or by clicking the link in the video description. But with that said, I hope you have a wonderful day and I'll hopefully see you again in the next one. Till then, take care.
Okay, so yeah. I'm not paying attention no more. I'm just playing the friggin' clips. I don't even know what that was.
Welcome back to the comments section. I'm Brett Cooper. I have not done a reaction to the Whatever podcast in a while. I think I did a long form one when Michael went on, which was just chef's kiss. That was just exceptional. But I think we all love the Whatever podcast. It is amazing entertainment whenever I see their videos come up on my YouTube Shorts. It's just so fun and such great entertainment, and the dunks are amazing. But I think it's time that we do another reaction, because obviously Candace Owens went on the Whatever podcast. She absolutely crushed it, as we all knew she would. I got my popcorn ready, but I think we need to watch some of these clips and break them down, because there were some exceptional moments. Before we dive into it, though, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and ring that notification bell so that you never miss a comment section or Off the Clock episode. Also, we're talking about Candace today, but if you did not know, her new documentary series, Convicting a Murderer, is out on Daily Wire Plus right now. It is so good. It is getting so much buzz, so much press. If you are a true crime fan, if you watched the original Making a Murderer on Netflix, you need to watch this. She uncovers so much. It's crazy, crazy good. Just go watch it on Daily Wire Plus. Now, for some context here before we watch these clips, the women that Candace debated the most on this panel do OnlyFans. So obviously this is going to be fun.
When it comes down to marrying these women, men just don't want it.
And
that's exactly why I said that in this industry I'm single until I retire.
But it will still matter.
I don't plan on doing this or getting married or finding the love of my life until I retire, like truthfully. And then after that,
you see what happens to Nina Agdal.
And then after that, I will be honest and truthful with the person that I will be getting married to or whatever, and it'll be up to him to accept that, right? So,
I'm just saying that men's natural proclivity is to not accept that, because it brings them shame. Men are biologically proud creatures.
I understand, but not everybody can be like.
No, I know. I'm not. I'm just telling you what is happening and why people are. I'm just talking about cultural events, the Nina Agdal thing, and if you look at people like
one thing, just before they keep going with this. One thing people don't know about Candace Owens, because you see her in these crazy fiery debates and she's dunking on somebody. Just listen to the way that she's speaking to this woman. Candace is one of the kindest people I know. She's not speaking to this woman and talking about OnlyFans and her future and relationships because she wants to dunk on her and make a point. She's actually concerned because this girl has this vision of her life and what it's going to be like when she stops doing OnlyFans and all these options that are going to be available to her. And it's very, very sad because that might not be the case. Like, the tides are turning against OnlyFans. I mean, they kind of already have been, but I think that there is a general, men are being a little more upfront about not wanting that, not wanting that as wife material. And that's really hard. None of this is malicious. I've seen tweets about Candace being like, oh, look how awful she was to these girls. This is actually very kind, in my opinion, because she's being very honest. Anyway, let's keep going.
Like Emily Ratajkowski, she's obviously hot, but this is a woman who's now trying to make divorce chic, and I think that the understanding is in Hollywood is, sleep with her and move on. She's not marriage material. Her husband, when he had her, cheated on her because they didn't have that thing. I feel like I've slept with the girl. I've seen her naked so many times, right? So there's nothing special about Sebastian Baer marrying her because we've all seen her naked. There's nothing sacred in that relationship. And I'm just speaking on telling you, this is why women struggle to get married when they've made themselves available on OnlyFans, because other men don't want to share. They don't want to share their wife. They maybe will share their girlfriend. They might think it's fun to date a stripper for a little bit. They might think, oh, this means I'm going to have sex 12 times a day. But then when it gets down to just their biological instinct, it's actually quite embarrassing for them as a man.
I also think it's important to note that it's not just OnlyFans. Obviously, we can dunk on OnlyFans. We can talk about it. So many girls are doing OnlyFans right now. Sadly, it's become a very normal thing. But this also goes for people who are not on OnlyFans, but maybe post, more lewd photos on Instagram, or just the way that you present yourself in public and how men are viewing you and what you are putting out there for men to see, and whether you are respecting what you would want your future husband to see, what you would want your children to one day see, what you would want your children's friends at school to look up and see online, all of that. Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black, the founder of Rough Greens, is focused on improving the health of every single dog in America, because that traditional kibble that we have been peddled for years is not the best option for your dogs. We have actually been lied to. You need Rough Greens to boost your dog's food back to health. Rough Greens is a supplement that contains all the necessary vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega oils, digestive enzymes, and antioxidants that your dog needs every single day. Things that your dog probably is not getting from kibble. And the best part about Rough Greens is that it's a supplement, not a whole food. So you don't need to go out and figure out what raw diet to put your dogs on
on or buy some expensive new dog food subscription, you can just sprinkle Rough Greens on their food every single day and you will be leagues ahead from where you were. Dog owners everywhere are raving about Rough Greens. It supports healthy joints, improves bad breath, boosts energy levels, and so much more. We are what we eat, and that obviously goes for dogs too. Now, I'm in Hungary shooting a series right now, so my dogs are with my wonderful sitter, Susie, back at home, but I know they're staying healthy because they're getting Rough Greens on their food every single day, and that makes me feel a little better about being so far away from them. Now, the team at Rough Greens is so confident that their products will improve your dog's health that they are offering my viewers a free Jumpstart trial bag so that your dog can try it too. A free Jumpstart trial bag can be at your door in just a few business days. So go to freeroughgreens.com/Brett or call 877-66-MY-DOG. Again, that's freeroughgreens.com/Brett or call 877-66-MY-DOG today. And one thing that stuck out to me, and I was talking about Candace being kind because this is a sad and a sensitive issue, is that this girl doesn't seem like a terrible person at all. Like, if I was sitting there, I wouldn't want to dunk on her either, because in her mind, she genuinely thinks, okay, I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to find somebody. Obviously, she wants to get married. She wants to find the love of her life. She just said that she's expecting to do that, and I hope she does, because everybody deserves to find that. And obviously, she knows enough and she has enough self-awareness to know that that's probably not going to happen while she's doing this work, that a man isn't going to go for it. So then open your eyes and think, why won't he go for it now? And what makes you think that he will go for it later? What makes you think that the options are going to be totally available to you? What is going to change just because you're honest about it? Like, you're obviously honest about it now. You're on a podcast talking about it. You're very publicly doing OnlyFans. What is going to change? There's obviously some inkling there that it's not right, that this isn't great, that a man isn't going to want to date you, or that you feel bad about it, so you don't want to date somebody right now while you're doing it. I would say go with your gut. Somebody commented and said, Candace is the perfect example of being a woman versus being a female. I actually haven't heard that before. That's good. Somebody else said a traditional woman is so much more attractive than being an OnlyFans boss babe. I can't believe they can't see this. Somebody else said you could see how insecure and nervous these girls were in Candace's presence. The moment she left, all the tension went away. High value women spook them. That's true. But she's also just so, I mean, it is true. Like, oh, the room will stand still when Candace Owens walks in, because there's just this like calm presence. I guess you could say, like, you know, a high value woman. But she just commands a room. I think those girls needed it. Here's another one. They were actually reacting to something that Matt Walsh tweeted, so we're going to watch that first, and then we'll see what they had to say.
It's 10:45 a.m. on a Saturday. I'm 29 and single, and I don't have kids yet. Here's what your Saturday morning looks like when you're single at 29 and you don't have a kid running around the house. I didn't rise from my bed until 10:15. Every time I thought, I should probably get up and do something. I thought, why? Nobody's making me. I'm not missing out on anything. I went to Beyonce last night, and I didn't get home until 1 a.m. And I danced and drank my little heart out, and I didn't pay a babysitter to watch my kids as I did that. And I woke up a tad hungover this morning, which is probably why I was in bed for so long. And I was just scrolling on my phone, and I saw a picture of shakshuka, and I thought, you know what sounds really good? Maybe I'm gonna learn how to make shakshuka today. Anyway, I say all this to say, whenever I'm hard on myself about why I'm not married and I don't have kids and I should be further along at 29, almost 30, I wouldn't want to do anything else this Saturday. And I know that you can do all these things when you have kids and you're married, and I understand, but the effortlessness and ease of my life, just kind of focusing on myself and the shakshuka I want to make or the Beyonce concert I want to go to, really pays off when I'm hard on myself for not being where society tells me I should be in life.
I never did a full episode about that girl, but man, that that clip is wild. I actually do want to use it for a video I want to make about millennial women and how I feel like society failed them, and now obviously they're paying for their mistakes. So we'll get into that whole thing later, but let's see what they had to say about it.
All my friends know I'm like so eager and ready for like marriage and kids, but I really honestly just didn't get that impression from that video alone that she was in any way.
So when she was talking about, I got to go to a Beyonce concert and I didn't have to pay for a babysitter, you don't think that was belittling?
It's so
that was
obviously
selfish of her to say that.
Yeah, she's being selfish,
and she
was being rude. And if it was flipped and a conservative woman with children said the opposite of that to single women,
it would blow up.
It would blow up, and they would say, "How rude of you! Why are you even mentioning single women? Just say you had a good day with your kids. It's fine. If I say I woke up, went to the park with my kids, did that, okay." Chill. Why are you correlating it to children? It doesn't make any sense. So, and like I said, she's produced more content, so that the context is important. She's leaned into this as a brand and as an influencer.
That is very true, and I think people miss that in her videos. Her whole thing is like a day in my life at 29 with no kids, not married. And so, just in case you hadn't seen her videos, it is like a daily thing now, and before the video blew up.
And I do would like to, again, warn men against marrying a woman who holds those sorts of perspectives, because she's ultimately just selfish. Like I said, you can have a day and you can be single. You don't have to dedicate your whole day to me, narcissist, me, here's what I did for me. It's just not a woman that you want to marry, full stop. For leaving the kids totally separate from it, I wouldn't marry a woman like that.
And all I'm saying is, like, it's sad, but it's crazy that, like, it's a trend. You know what I mean? Like, that's why they're getting so many views on TikTok or Instagram or whatever they're posting these things on. It's like, it's a trend. Yeah. And yeah, you know, it's crazy.
Just a show of hands, who here wants to have kids one day?
More, yeah. It's my third, but...
Now, the girl in the orange did not raise her hand there, but we were just talking about her and OnlyFans and all that stuff. And this just makes me empathize with her more, because she obviously saw that this is a trend. Like, you do not need to be some, you know, right-wing Christian conservative to see that there is an attack on women who choose to stay home and have children, and that there are a lot of women out there who made a choice not to do that and to focus on other things and are regretting that. And the way they cope with that is by turning around and projecting and saying, oh, my life is so much better than yours, and I'm so happy, and I'm doing all these things for me, and I could never do that when I have kids because I want to feel so good about myself and about my mistakes. And we do that in a lot of different parts of our lives. I have definitely done that when I don't want to realize that I've made a mistake. I'm just going to rationalize it and make myself believe that it is a good decision. But they're right. That is a trend, because there are so many women who have made that choice. And because that is a trend, and even these OnlyFans girls are seeing that, maybe that should wake up some young girls and say, maybe villainizing, you know, stay-at-home moms, ridiculing them, purely focusing on your career without a second thought, maybe it isn't the healthiest option. Maybe that is what we should get from this trend. Somebody commented and said, if you're happy about being childless and single, fine. Why do you have to brag about it on social media? You wouldn't feel the need to prove it. And great point, because most happy, content, and secure people don't feel the need to brag and shove their happiness down the throats of others. Somebody else said, Lady obviously is trying to convince herself that she was living her best life. It is sad, to be honest. I do like, though, that all the girls were on board and realizing that that's a cope, because we could all see through that. And it is wild how many people on Twitter were like, no, you just don't understand. It's like, that's her whole brand. Okay, we're gonna go on to the next clip. This one is wild. The context here, this is a self-proclaimed sex therapist, and there was a whole New York Post article published about her, and she apparently sleeps with husbands in order to save marriages. And she does this because the wives ask for it. So they talked about the article. We're just gonna start with Candace's immediate response to hearing this.
So like, and this has been, there's multiple clients that do this, where the wife will not have sex anymore. She went and said, look, I, you know, during when they were courting each other, she was down for sex. She was a sexual person. She was all about it. Then let's fast forward, they're married. We're married now. Contract solidified. I don't want to have sex anymore. Ew, oral sex is gross. Oh, that's demeaning if you're asking me to do that.
So you're not saving marriages, you're helping people to keep up a farce that they are in a marriage. Because at the very moment that you let someone else into your marriage, it's no longer a marriage.
No.
Yeah.
And these women, women have turned around and said, I will allow you to see a professional.
So they are not in a marriage.
So she's not a sex therapist. She's literally a prostitute for women who don't want to sleep with their husbands, apparently.
Some of their wives are like dying from cancer and this, that, and the other. And
if I'm dying from cancer and my husband
sleeps with somebody else,
I swear to God.
Like their wives are the ones that come.
Hold on, just one at a time, please. Go. Candace, were you...
I just would like to make the point that at the very moment that you loan your spouse out, especially if you're dying of cancer so that they can get off, you're no longer in a marriage. So it's just a farce. It's like it's a comical, you're pretending for people that you're in a marriage, that you're in a loving relationship. That's not what a marriage is. So to say that I help marriages, no, you help destroy marriages, and they can go out and say that we're still married because what we've done is we've essentially said, you take care of this aspect of the marriage. It's like saying, you raise the kids, you have sex with him. This isn't a marriage. It's the whole thing is fake.
I really think she wrapped it all up in that one statement. Like, she could have not summed it up better, saying that this is a farce of a marriage. And I think that this could be applied to more things than a sex therapist that is actually a prostitute trying to keep marriages alive, or whatever she's calling it. Because I think there are so many people out there who are not actually walking the walk with marriage and what marriage is supposed to be and what it means, and are just rationalizing things, excusing it. Oh, it's totally fine if he does this because, we're in this modern era and it's fine. We can redefine marriage, whatever it is, not a marriage. And Candace hit the nail on the head. It's also wild to me that girl brought up cancer. I don't know if she believes in that or if she has just seen, other New York Post articles or, stories about that online where a wife has said, no, just go out and have sex because I can't with you right now. That's also shocking, but also not because of the world we live in. But that's so sad that you wouldn't even want your partner to stay with you or expect them to. But also, what I always say is, this is the world we live in, so nothing should surprise me anymore. I hope she's not excusing that. One person commented and said, as sex workers, we're basically sex therapists. And as a pizza eater, I am basically a nutritionist. Oh my God, it probably will be. It's like when they started calling divorce uncoupling. I unironically saw that, we watched it together in the Joe Jonas, Sophie Turner episode where she was like, oh yes, this uncoupling that's happening right now, it's a divorce. You're splitting up a family. Call it what it is. You don't need to redefine it to make it sound softer. Oh, consensual, hallmarky, out no, call it what it is. You're destroying a marriage. You're trying to keep it a farce so everybody thinks that you're still happily married. Also, as a child of divorce who was in a family where a farce was definitely kept up, nothing like that happened, I can assure you, where a farce was definitely kept up for a long time, benefits no one. Work on it or clean break. Somebody else said adultery does not save marriage. It does not. And if you think it is, you've got something wrong up there. All right, last clip. We have to watch it because I think this is the one that everybody online saw after Candace went on the podcast. This is her and the girl who's wearing the Made in Hell shirt. It's so good. Okay.
Why are you wearing a cross on your neck?
Color coordinating with your neck?
Because I don't see a cross as religious, so...
Okay. Just like you don't see a marriage as religious. So
I don't think that a marriage...
have a meaning, which is why it's like we're out of stage where people are like, what is a woman? Because they just go, well, we're going to call it a marriage, but we're going to sleep with other people. We're going to bring in prostitutes. We're going to outsource raising the kids, or we're never going to have kids. You're calling it a family. It's not a family, and this is what it is. The words have no meaning, right? I'm wearing the cross. Why? I don't know. I don't think of it as religious. Okay, well, Jesus Christ died on the cross.
You think that.
That's what you think.
Wait.
That's what you think.
Yeah. So why are you wearing the cross?
Because I think it's cute.
That's what you think. Even if you are not a religious person, Jesus was a historical figure. That's laughable. Anyway, okay. Just like idiotic.
Dying is cute.
Yeah.
Better wait, real quick.
I grew up Catholic. I was religious, and I'm not anymore. I don't have to believe in what you believe, and I can say that if
I didn't say you had to believe. I asked you a question.
But
I said, why are you wearing the cross?
Okay, and you're saying that the religious aspect of marriage is the only thing that matters. It's not, because people don't follow what you believe.
Yeah. Okay, I asked you why you're wearing the cross, and you said because you thought it was cute.
Yeah,
I'm glad we got an answer. She's wearing the cross around her neck because she thinks it's cute.
I do. I'm not religious.
Also wear like a Star of David?
It's cute.
Like, if it was cute, would you wear it?
Well,
I just mean, like, I'm asking that because I wonder, my guess is that you would think that maybe you wouldn't wear a Star of David because you're like, oh, this is maybe like disrespectful to people who are.
Are you making
Jewish.
the argument? Maybe, I mean.
No, I'm just.
The secular.
It's a very good question.
I know we were focusing on Candace in this episode, but that girl was also spitting facts, and she made an excellent point about the Star of David, and I think it just goes back to the fact that Christianity gets shit on time and time again in our society, and it's totally fine, and it's a laughing stock. And if you say that you want to stop Christian hate or that you want to fight against that, it's like, that's not real, that doesn't exist, like you're some kind of Christian nationalist. But Christians are made fun of every single day in the media and by people wearing this. But with other religions, that's disrespectful, and you don't want to be offensive, you don't want to step on their toes. It's like, where is the line? Why is this any different? Just because you don't like these people, you disagree with their politics? It makes no sense. That was an excellent point that she brought up, and it was just such a fun gotcha moment with Candace. I also love that she was wearing the Made in Hell shirt. Just too good. Somebody said putting these women in front of Candace Owens is like lining up a bunch of fairground boxers in front of Mike Tyson. Somebody else said, I love watching Candace try not to laugh on how ridiculous this is. The whole episode is so good. I recommend watching it. It's like 4 hours long, or just go through and watch all the clips that they posted. She crushes it. I also love the fact that at certain times you can see her debating back and forth, and you cannot deny the fact that even girls that she has debated before are kind of looking at her going like, maybe she's right. It's like with the Michael Knowles episode. He came at them with such kindness and a genuine, curiosity because he's Michael. But I genuinely feel like, I don't know if he changed any minds, but he planted some seeds, because you cannot deny the things that he said or that Candace said, and it was just too good. And I loved watching like the gears shift in real time, which is what needs to happen, which is why the Whatever podcast is so fantastic. It's not only great entertainment, but lives are being changed, y'all. OnlyFans models' lives are being changed. Thanks for watching this episode of The Comment Section. I hope you enjoyed it and that you maybe even learned something. If you've not already, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and of course, ring that notification bell so that you never miss an episode.
All right, it's over. Alright. Uh, you know what? I'm done. Again. Let's see if I can fall asleep now. So, I will see you guys later. Plus, my internet was acting up earlier, so I don't know if it's going to be acting up or not. So, go from there. So, have a good night. See y'all later. Where is it? Mouse, where are you? There you are. Ah, see ya.